Here on the Splash Blade channel. Time to hop into some drafts to compete for $4.5 million in total prizes in first place when we draft across Underdog's Best Ball Mania, DraftKings Millionaire, the drafters' main event Best Ball Championship, which is a word full, but still has 500K up top there. We're going to hit them all today, of course, presented by Drafters as usual. I'm in a BBM right now, so let's get into it. Picking in the 8 hole in this one. You still have to get used to this new interface where it just lacks the flair of Underdog's UX, which I feel like was always the thing that we love from Underdogs. Like the site looked really pretty and cool. And now this looks like default fonts on system software. But, you know, we are picking in the 8 hole, so that'll be nice. Get Malik Neighbors, get Puka Nakua, get Christian McCaffrey, one of those guys. Shout out to the chatter, guys like Spurious News. I'm ready, willing to learn today. Well, there's a lot to learn about. In particular, this is an important one for all the boys out there. Don't go punching ladies in the face. Quinshon Judkins going to be looking like he'll get on the commissioner exempt list at some point, most likely, because he did punch a gal in the face in Florida. Are the reports out there allegedly? But, you know, we'll see. Hopefully photos don't come out, or else he's going to absolutely get incredibly suspended. But as it is right now, he hasn't signed his second-round contract, which is the case for, I think, 30 out of 32 guys from that second round. Jaden Higgins got the guaranteed money. Now they all want guaranteed money, including the Charter Trey Harris, who's being credited to be the first one to be officially holding out. But Judkins one of those guys as well, and basically he can't get suspended until he has a contract. He might not have a contract because if he wants the guarantees, they're probably not going to guarantee money for a guy who's got a domestic violence situation going on. So Judkins, to me, I don't think he's undraftable. I think if he's going like 120 in a room, you just scoop him up. But I think in terms of like pricing guys properly, which is sort of the main goal of everything that I think is important in best ball, again, being tethered to ADP to some extent, but obviously understanding the sliding mechanism that guys will have. Jordan Addison, another guy's got legal issues today, got his trial in California for his DUI, probably get a 3-game suspension. We've known that for months, but you know, for a lot of people out there, it's going to be new information to them. Big running back run here. What do we have? We got Puka Nakua coming all the way back. Nothing too exciting. I say coming all the way back. Puka Nakua going to the exact same spot he would normally go to. I'm cool with that. Thought we would get one of the RBs coming back potentially. That doesn't happen. Jefferson Lamb goes safely in the 2 and 3 spot. CeeDee Lamb, I'll continue to defend. He should be more of a 1-2 turn pick, but we'll see how that goes. For me, I actually heard Adam Levitan's podcast this morning where does his Market Monday, or I guess it was from yesterday. His Market Monday podcast was catching up on that, just trying to get myself more into listening to credible people in best ball more so I can give you guys my takes on their takes and how I guess the industry is feeling about stuff. And he was talking about like, I expect the Cowboys to score a lot of points this year. I think talking about Jaden Blue and his ADP coming up a little bit. I was surprised to hear that take. I know people draft the Cowboys highly. CeeDee Lamb again here going to pick 3. Still don't feel great about them, but you guys know the deal at this point with that. Basically, if you're not familiar with my Cowboys takes, Brian Schottenheimer's never been a good coach anywhere he's been. Anytime he's called plays, it's been a aggressive power run West Coast offense. The offensive coordinator they bring in is a former offensive line coach. Usually doesn't mean a successful passing attack generally. So it usually means an aggressive running attack, but they don't have the running backs to pull that off either. So I'm not a believer in Dallas as much as many people are out there. Somehow I'm talking about Quinshon Judkins punching people in the face, and it comes back to me not liking Dallas that much. But that's where we are with best ball. We don't do a stream for 3 days. Juwan Jennings got to talk about as well, but we'll get to that after I make my pick. We got Drake London coming back at the slightest bit of a discount. You know what? Getting Rams Atlanta here, if we are going to talk on that spectrum of a couple years ago, you had your CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, week 17 correlation, a very obvious one that people took at the end of the second or the end of the first round, leading into the second round, the 1-2 turn. Rams Atlanta is that game to me this year. I mean, I also really liked Washington Atlanta last year. You had some good pieces from that game that I think were valuable, but overall, I don't think that game was like the one must-have offensive environment when you had some other games going off for a lot more points. This year, Rams Atlanta to me is a very easy stack to get to generally. The part that I've missed the most is actually the Puka Nakua Drake London correlation because Puka not often falling to the turn where I'm picking. Drake London, I'm often not taking him because I do want to get Achane, Derrick Henry in the same range. So to get this combo together, I think if you're looking at week 17 pairing that could have all the points in week 17, Rams Atlanta is it for me. Shout out to chats again. Appreciate all you guys filing in. We got our Mr. Poopy Butthole Ooh-wee here. I'm sure he'll be joining for drafters coming up towards the end of this video. CMC going earlier and earlier in these drafts. That is where the summer months are right now. You also had Kyle Juszczyk talking about how McCaffrey is going to be a player who's going to explode the offense, make it a whole new world for them. In reality, it's going to be the same situation for him that it would have been before that. But people hear those quotes, all of a sudden it makes a guy get a little steam because they see it on Roto World or on Twitter from the Underdog handle, those things. So for McCaffrey, I mean, look, I've been taking him where he goes for the most part. I've vocalized that when he came back last year, the red zone role was not that 5+ red zone opportunity role he had before his injuries. And I think that's something that would spook me a little bit, but maybe you're taking Jordan Mason out of the equation, taking Debo out of the equation, that could shift around a little bit. With Juwan Jennings, I will say though, because that's one people are actually going to be worried about out there. I really wouldn't be worried about Juwan Jennings. Number one, he was great last year. He deserves a better payday than a lot of guys who got paid more this year, like Darius Slayton being an obvious one, Diami Brown getting paid more money this year than Juwan Jennings was scheduled to. So like he was due a re-up, but he's not even holding out. If he's somehow forced to trade, he'd probably go somewhere that has to then pay him new money. I would want him a lot. So, all right, there's an interesting little situation here. I do love Garrett Wilson. Would like to get an RB at some point as well. Trey McBride here, I think, is a nice discount going to pick 32. I'm a big Trey McBride believer. I think technically still my highest exposed tight end on the year. Let me confirm that. The separate tab. If not, he's top 2. He's still number 1 for me with 23% in Best Ball Mania. So Trey McBride for me, another player that if I can get him at pick 32, and he is starting to fall a little bit in these summer rooms, it seems, I'm happy to get Trey McBride here. Certainly would be better with any Cincinnati correlation. I'll try to get that Week 17 matchup, but you're not going to get a lot of Week 17 correlation picking at these spots. For Cincinnati, Arizona, of course, in particular. We only have 2 guys that matter for the Cincinnati side. Well, I guess 3 guys, but Chase Brown also gone here. So for Juwan Jennings, I think what's more likely here is they reach a new deal, probably not getting paid the crazy money that a guy like Garrett Wilson getting paid $90 million guaranteed. I think on a 4-year deal that was. So for Garrett, plus it's more money on top of that. But for a guy like Juwan Jennings, if he gets to 15 mil, that's a pretty big increase for him. They have to find the money to pay him. They targeted him like an alpha receiver last year. So I think they kind of have to pay him if they're going to use him like that. We got Jaden Daniels here, a little bit of a discount to make the team really pop. Marion Hampton, I am taking more of because of the Najee Harris thing, and I am unfortunately going to tie break in favor of the running back here. I've just gotten too cozy with the early RBs, trying to get some of that exposure going on. And for me, Marion Hampton, at this point, a player that I liked a lot. To me, he grades out very similarly to an Ashton Genty. Genty, obviously, a little bit better draft capital, but not even that much better. For Marion Hampton, I think the big thing really is that he's going to be a 3-down back, most likely a guy that'll be in for pass pro on 3rd downs. Not that that's a ton of pass game opportunity necessarily, but the fact that he could be out there for 3 downs necessarily does matter for his opportunity overall and just getting more touches. Kind of having the opportunity to be a bell cow, which we're always looking for in these drafts. Number 2 is a Najee Harris thing. Like I believe the eye injury. I believe what they're saying about him, that he should be able to be back and fine to go by the regular season. But if he does miss time in camp, if he does miss time in that ramp up period where they're installing things, Aaron Hampton can find his way to the spot that he probably should get anyway. Where it was before, I hated Hampton's price tag because with Najee Harris there is still definitely a risk that Najee Harris takes goal line work away, takes meaningful, down and distance kind of plays away. Even some targets, if they want to do things that are dumb, they could certainly target Najee Harris if they wanted to. Doesn't mean that it's a good move, but that's what teams do sometimes. For Marion Hampton, if you just clear that barrier a little bit and then give him the runway as well, assuming that he can be healthy in training camp and healthy throughout this entire preseason, I think he's a guy that can really spike up. So for Marion Hampton, we'll take him now in the 40 range. I do think taking him over James Cook's a little bit tough. Cook, to me, feels like the last of the real RBs going in this range that you feel really good about as your RB1 or especially RB2. I think he's really nice when you pair him with a Breece Hall type, even one of the better backs. But for Hampton, I think now there's a shot for him to be as good as any of those guys. So I like taking him at this point now that we have not some certainty about Najee Harris, but no more open window for him to get in. So Judkins, to sum it up, Judkins, I would say, and we're going to have more news videos coming out here. I probably should have started today. In fact, we had some news. But we have Judkins most likely, I think, going to get suspended at some point would be my guess. So there's volatility on it, though. So again, if you get Judkins at pick 110, 120, you want to make that click, you certainly can. I would certainly open my mind more to Jerome Ford. I think I personally would open myself up more to Samson as well, just because of the fact that you do have a spot there. I'd say it's pretty ambiguous. But I think Jerome Ford, to me, is a guy I've talked about. I thought he'd be a barrier for Judkins with him not having punched the woman in the face. And now that he's punched the woman in the face, he might miss some camp time. And now the guaranteed money thing is like really going to kind of go, going to make it a tougher situation. I think that you might want to try more Jerome Ford late. Kenneth Walker here, Jalen Waddle here. Not crazy about Waddle, even though I certainly get the projection increase that should come losing Jonnu Smith. I'm going to go Kenneth Walker. Think he's easily projectable overall. Feeling pretty good about the Rams Atlanta baseline here with Puka Nacua, Drake London at receiver. I certainly would love to add in a Romo Dunze again. Juwan Jennings, if there is a dip to buy, I'll be buying it. But I've got a lot of Juwan Jennings as it is. I'm not going to reach for him at this point, given the price might fall a little bit. So teams so far, we got Omarion Hampton, Kenneth Walker, Puka Nacua, Drake London, Trey McBride. So nice even build here. Do feel like my RB room spending good capital there for one player who the projection be a little bit tough to hit on the head, but that's sort of the upside of Hampton. Trust the CMC plus Kittle a little bit more right now. I mean, look, if you want to say Jennings is a one-year wonder, I guess I could get it. I just think numerically there's nothing that would make me believe that. He was efficient. He was targeted a lot. You got red zone work too, which is one thing I think is a little bit of a tiebreaker in terms of your importance to an offense. The fact that he had over one red zone target a game. We saw him spike, over 40 fantasy points. Not that that's going to happen again this year. Like, you saw everything you want from Juwan Jennings, and now you've cleared out. I mean, you're going to have Ayuk likely hurt for 4 to 8 weeks to start the year. I just think they would be really foolish to make this difficult on Jennings when he probably would sign again for 13 mil or something. If you give him a guarantee or something, especially. We have a 0-2-2-1 build here. 2 guys who might be falling soon with Jennings and Addison. Addison with the suspension potentially coming up. Jennings, though, will take the click here. Again, I'm still comfortable with him. He's going to pick 65. I'd be curious to see his pick floor here if people let him drop into the 70s maybe, because if he goes in the 70s, to me, he's an appreciably better click than Jacoby Myers. I've seen on Twitter a lot of steam from Ricky Pearsall, and I feel like it's the most basic, everything I say that's wrong with Twitter kind of thing, where people take, oh, here's the young guy, he's going to be really good, ignoring the fact that Ricky Pearsall last year had like a 17% target per out run rate. He was less efficient EPA-wise than Jennings. It's year one, it's fine. But a 0.19 EPA per target, 16.7% target per out run, 0.6 red zone opportunities a game. Again, he's spiked in the playoffs, like the fantasy playoffs, the best ball playoffs. So I get having some esteem for Pearsall, but I don't think he's like a great click. What do you think is going to happen with Jennings? Number one is just that he would go. They don't replace the body at all. If Pearsall becomes wide receiver 1 by just sheer inertia of being on the roster, I think that's the most likely thing for how football works at all. But number 2 would be like, what's more likely is Jennings at this point. They find a middle ground here. He gets paid his money. He's not going to get paid Ayuk money. I doubt it drags out into August because he's not going to get paid like this, market resetting kind of contract or close to it. So for Juwan Jennings, they just have to find the middle ground, and they'll find it. Because if they want to be a Super Bowl team, you can't lose a guy like Juwan Jennings. You're expecting to come in, fill the role. So any dip that comes with him, I would buy. And again, if he were to get traded, it'd obviously be a little bit weird for him to get traded at this point. But you certainly want your wide receiver to get all the run out possible. And if he gets traded, he's probably coming for a team then. It's going to take a draft capital for him. Probably have to give him new money to get him to report. So no matter what the outcome is for Jennings, it's going to be better. And he was great last year. And a lot better than Ricky Pearsall, even though Pearsall's a young guy. I get it. 0-2-3-1 here. We got Jaden Reed, Khalil Shakir, Tony Pollard, Patrick Mahomes. No real obvious correlations. We'll curious to see how the Judkins fall goes. Not crazy about Reed. I think it's Pollard for me. Getting a little bit too bouncy here with 3 RBs, 3 wide receivers, but I think Hampton, if Najee Harris is able to go, certainly going to be a thing where it knocks his projection down a little bit, even though his ADP is coming up right now for the potential of Najee missing time. But Pollard I still feel good about. That Cam Ward offense still feel good about. So I'm willing to take him here. Like the dog had to come down, by the way, to the studio. So she has to watch me do content, apparently. And I'm like making sure she's not doing anything bad over there. Eventually she's going to come over here and just crash through all my wires to come sit on the couch. But now she's being a big independent dog over in the corner. All right, so we got a pick coming up here. See, one player I'd very much like to get. We'll see what we get on the way back. Baker goes. What are we doing? Tackles. Oh, here comes the dog. She could sense it. Over here. You're going to come over here. There you go. All right. All right, so we did get Darnell Mooney back. One of my favorite clicks overall in best ball this year. A guy as well that I'm getting now with my Atlanta Rams correlation. Really have not gotten a lot of Puka Nacua, Drake London together. Juwan Jennings, still one of my favorite mid-tier receivers. Really, the top of the RB room is my biggest critique right now, but I did get a discount on Trey McBride as well. I like how this team's coming together. So the team so far is 0-3-4-1. Of course, first leg of our try draft line here will be next hitting DraftKings Millionaire, where guys, just a heads up, this channel, I'm not sponsored by DraftKings, so keep that in mind. I do get paid through Stochastic for DraftKings. They do have a deal going on right now. If you put in 6 drafts, you could put in 6 drafts in total, but every 2 drafts give you $10 of DK cash for it. So you basically end up getting about 25% rake back on your 2 entries. So keep that in mind on DraftKings. There's no similar thing on Underdog because, they want to milk your little teats as much as possible. But go check out the DraftKings deal that'll be coming up next on DraftKings. And Drafters, of course, the final leg of our journey, drafters.com. Promo code SPLASH if you want to draft me on Drafters. A total points site, full point PPR, which I've had great results on, fishing top 100, top 10 as well in tournaments in the last couple of years. So go play on Drafters as well with me, the last stage of things. Team so far, 0-3-4-1. We've got O'Marion, Hampton, Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard. At receiver, Puka Nakua, Drake London, Juwan Jennings, Darnell Mooney. Tight end, Trey McBride. So, again, nicely balanced so far. Definitely want to stick the wide receiver 5, which is always a tough part, I think, when you are punting that past pick 100, but certainly we'll have some options. Shout out to all guys joining here. Appreciate all you guys watching live or after the fact. Let's see. Y'all remember Gabe Davis spiking in the playoffs, then being boosted up the next year? I mean, that happened. Oh, that's Ricky. So you're saying that's Ricky Pearsall. Man, that's a tough one. I would say the more direct comp to Gabe Davis, and I was going to say this is where I would think it's wrong, but I could see people saying Gabe Davis is like Juwan Jennings. Gabe Davis did have that massive playoff game, had the huge ADP spike. Juwan Jennings had the massive Super Bowl. Didn't really have an ADP spike because they then drafted Pearsall. They then paid Ayuk, still kept Debo around. But Jennings really did show something. Then he showed it again. To me, guys, that always, and this is like a Drew Brees thing. When they drafted Phillip Rivers, it always stuck with me. The Chargers back in the day when I was, I would say, pretty much a little kid at that point. That Kyler Murray goes, motherfucker, you better have Harrison. Unstacked Kyler. Motherfucker. All right, well, Kyler goes. Really wanted him for our Arizona stuff. We don't need it, I guess. I can live without it. Justin Fields unstacked here. Not my favorite click. I do think there's a chance that Justin Fields teams meet a bit of a reckoning with how it goes, stacking things up in pods when we get to the playoff time. Brock Purdy here, though, does correlate. I'm just going to go Purdy. Love Fields. Really do love Fields here. But we have this Rams-Atlanta stack. I can get one of those QBs. Don't want to do Fields, Purdy, and that. So I'll make my choice here and go Brock Purdy, stacked up here with Juwan Jennings. But yeah, for Juwan Jennings, I think the biggest thing for him is that when you have a 30%, or I guess for him, 28% target per out run, I just forget the exact number for him. 29%. So it's if you want to be accurate to the decimal, 28.7% target per out run last year for Juwan Jennings. 1.1 deep targets a game, which again, over 1 a game is going to be always something where you're talking pretty close to elite. 0.7 deep targets a game. Like Jennings had like legit numbers. If you saw those numbers for Justin Jefferson, they're not terribly different from Justin Jefferson. Like, I know that's crazy to hear. I'm not saying Juwan Jennings is Justin Jefferson, but the way they're using the offense creates kind of a similar output data-wise. I really think that Juwan Jennings is a good click right now. People are going to panic about him because he's going to be quote unquote holding out. I say for me that if I'm going to plant one flag in the show, it would be number 1, don't punch women in the face like Quinshon Judkins, and don't draft Quinshon Judkins at ADP. Number 2 would be keep taking Juwan Jennings if there's any sort of discount at all. Charbonnet here doesn't make sense for this team. Shaheed does give us a 5th receiver who I think has enough upside, so I'm just going to go there. Trey Harris would have been correlation with O'Marion Hampton, but I'm curious to see where he falls in this room given the holdout he's got going. Trey Harris getting guaranteed money is the goal for him, and God damn it if you don't respect it. Support employees always. The team so far, we got Brock Purdy at QB, RB O'Marion Hampton, Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard. At receiver, Puka Nakua, Drake London, Juwan Jennings, Darnell Mooney, and Rashid Shaheed. So I think a pretty tight top 5 here. Obviously, guys, that certainly other people out there may like players that, more than I like these guys, I guess. But to me, getting Drake London, getting Juwan Jennings, getting Mooney, and getting Shaheed, too, is a spiky guy in this Kellen Moore offense, I think works pretty well for me. And we also have Trey McBride on top of it here, so couldn't get him stacked up, but we got Purdy instead. That's all fine. I think it's a real clean team. I've not been doing a lot of BBMs lately because I'm trying to keep myself ramped down. And if you're curious, this is Best Ball Mania draft number 89 for me on the year. So got a little bit ahead of the 8 ball because I fell in love with ADPs. Frankly, you're seeing right now with stuff like the Quinshaw Judkins domestic violence case out of nowhere. You're seeing as well with like just the, I guess, risk, I would say, for ADP, losing some CLV if Juwan Jennings falls for a holdout. Whatever else comes, I mean, Garrett Wilson maybe comes up a little bit because of the fact he got a new deal. Probably won't affect his ADP too much. Maybe you got a discount on him. You took him a lot like I have. You're seeing sort of what the risk is of having about 90 BBM drafts right now is that news is starting to trickle in a little bit. We haven't even gotten to training camp yet where the injuries are starting to occur. But like Trey Harris, if you load it up on Trey Harris right now, you're going to have a dip probably 10, 15, 20 spots, with him being in a holdout if it goes on for a while. And it's going to fall and it's going to be like not really impacting his season. They're going to get him into camp at some point, but it will affect his probability of starting right away, of being able to go early. So I think for Trey Harris, if you like load up on a guy, he's a good example of like how you can kind of be left holding the bag. I don't feel like I have any guys like that right now, but the injuries at training camp are the big risk point. If like Tyjae Spears tears an ACL, knock on wood, I want that less than anything in the world. If he like, I'm fucked. Like it's going to really fuck my portfolio up. So that is a trade-off we have with these things. Pearsall does have draft capital and a lot of targets to be accounted for. Yeah, there's a lot of targets to be accounted for. But again, earning targets is your best predictor of earning more targets. And people who earned targets last year were Jennings and Kittle by a pretty wide margin. Again, Pearsall, there's enough to go around there. But like people on Twitter just like don't grasp the sort of finer points, I would say, of fantasy analysis and projection. The reality is like Ricky Pearsall is not going to become a 30% target per run route guy, no matter what, because of the fact that like that's just not who he is. But whatever. 1-3-5-1 here. Ramondre here could be another RB to prop up the projection. Colson Loveland gives us a Chicago bring back, and I think I'm going to take that. So feel like we have the Niners stack here with Jennings and Purdy. Our bringbacks for Chicago are getting less and less. Luther Burden's another guy holding out for a second round guaranteed money thing. And Luther Burden, there's still a world where I guess they could go to Keenan Allen and bring him back. I don't think it's likely given the Bears just didn't sign him immediately with the new regime coming in. But if Burden holds out, he's also been banged up. You could have 2 strikes against him. Colson Loveland has also missed training camp, but he's got his first round deal locked in. He's good to go. And it was always a plan for him to kind of come back in during training camp as opposed to during minicamp and OTAs. For Luther Burden, he was needed to be there. They wanted him to be going. He got hurt. Now, if he's holding out for guaranteed money, you're kind of getting it on both sides. So I'm not crazy about Burden right now. I'm also not crazy about Loveland, to be honest, but I took him there. Just wanted to get some Chicago correlation that wasn't going to be a guy like Roschon Johnson later on, even though I do like Roschon too. Ramondre Stevenson here, 16 spots after ADP for no reason, I guess. So I'm just going to take him. Nothing's happened to Ramondre, right? He didn't punch a lady in the face. He wasn't in the car with Jordan Addison sneakily driving. So I think we're okay here. Gonna push for Penix / Stafford, I guess, is also the move here. I got too excited about taking Ramondre. We'll see what happens on the way back. 1-4-5-2 build: Brock Purdy, Omarion Hampton, Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard, Ramondre Stevenson. At receiver, Puka Nacua, Drake London, Juwan Jennings, Darnell Mooney, Rashid Shaheed. Tight end, Trey McBride, Colston Loveland. Definitely a little more capital at tight end than I would like, but I think the team is okay so far, and it just depends on what we get back at pick 152. I made maybe a strategic error by not reaching for a guy, but we'll see what this room thinks of unstacked Michael Penix, because none of them have Penix correlated right now, so they shouldn't prioritize him. And I have seen Penix in rooms go in the 160s lately, which I don't get. I love Michael Penix as a prospect this year. Didn't love him coming out as a rookie because I just didn't know what the pathway was to him starting. But what he showed last year, I think in particular on DraftKings, we get the 300-yard bonus. I think you're going to see a lot of upside for him. And Penix does go uncorrelated to this guy. That's a bummer. We'll have another out for the stack, but really would have liked to have gotten Penix at 152 here. This felt like Ramondre at 16 spots after ADP. He's not an exciting player by any stretch at this point in his career, but he's undervalued, and I do think absorbing ADP value is still your best way to get unique. So Ramondre here cost me Penix, but I still think that was the right choice. This guy taking Penix, I don't think was good for him, but whatever. What are you going to do? If Laura Croft wants to draft a player, you let her do it. She taught us all about the importance of having big video game titties back in the day, and now she's sniping players from me. We'll get Matthew Stafford, though, so we still get the Rams-Atlanta correlation, just a different way to do it, which is sort of my logic anyway. Maybe a 3 tight end build with this, or a 3 QB build, excuse me, with this. We'll see how that goes as we go. But Brock Purdy, Matthew Stafford are QBs now. So we'll get the Rams-Atlanta through Stafford as opposed to Penix. And at RB, Omarion Hampton, Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard, Ramondre Stevenson. A big ADP discount on Ramondre. Just couldn't avoid it, I guess. Puka Nacua, Drake London, Juwan Jennings, Darnell Mooney, Rashid Shaheed. Again, the reason I'd prefer to get Penix here would be if you have London, you have Mooney, and those guys are spiking. Penix is more likely to be coming along for the ride. But that said, I don't think there's a huge projection difference on paper between Penix and Stafford. And Stafford's certainly a more veteran player who's got, at least parallel weapons to last year, if not slightly improved, adding Devontae Adams, taking away Cooper Kupp. We're on the clock here. Quentin Johnston's come back. Really feel like we could use an RB. I think we're going to pull up Roschon Johnson. I had talked about him, said I don't dislike him, even though I don't want him to be our only Chicago correlation, because I think it happens for me a lot. But DeAndre Swift is a priority click for me at running back a lot, so getting Roschon here as well. Just trying to balance that out. Frankly, if I had between the two backs, between Swift and Roschon, if I had 40% combined of them, I wouldn't be mad about it. We've just seen what Ben Johnson running backs can do no matter what the talent level is the last couple of years in Detroit. So I want to make that bet on both guys here and hope that nobody comes in to upset things. But I don't know who that would be at this point. Kyle Monaghan, I guess, would be the one thing that maybe I could take more of, but no thanks. Brock Purdy, Matthew Stafford, our QBs. Hampton, Kenneth Walker, Pollard, Ramondre, and Roschon Johnson here as our RBs. Wide receiver, we have Puka Nacua, Drake London, Juwan Jennings, Darnell Mooney, and Rashid Shaheed. I think we got a good top 5 here, so I'm pushing it down the pipe a little bit instead of taking more receivers. And then Trey McBride, Colston Loveland here. I think the Loveland pick is the one that maybe throws off the room a little bit more, where that could have been an RB, could have been a wide receiver perhaps, that makes the room look slightly better. But I can live with this balanced kind of build. It's sort of the way I'm building this year more so. Still holding a candle for 0 RB in my brain, but it's just, I don't think the way you're going to win this year. People just don't like the reliable 1994 Honda Accord that is Ramondre at this point of the summer, which I get it. I get people aren't going to be excited to take a Ramondre at this stage of things. And I don't know. For me, like the whole thing with Ramondre is that he's not a great player by any stretch. Like I could look at the numbers. I don't think I'll be wowed by anything I'd pull up here. He got a negative 0.16 EPA per rush, negative 0.07 EPA per pass. So you could be negative in both as long as the volume is there, but it's not going to like make me feel great about it. A 17% avoided tackle rates, a little bit better than average for a lot of your high volume backs. That's not bad. 3.4 red zone opportunities a game last year for Ramondre. That's actually pretty good work between his intended rushes and targets. 16.3 intended touches a game. That's not great. Try to give him a touch 41% of the time he's on the field. That's okay. I think your big hope for him is that Travion Henderson is just not really ready for prime time in the same way. And I think that's certainly a possibility. Travion Henderson, as much as people want to pump up him and previously Judkins, those guys were just in like a 12 touch per game timeshare. And I actually saw somebody, I'm not going to say who it is, so somebody talking on Discord, and somebody who I usually think is fairly sharp, even if I don't think they're the greatest human being in the world. So I'm not trying to narrow it down, just this is whatever. This is me talking. But it's somebody I think is sharp. And they were like, oh, yeah, like Judkins can catch passes. Like people think he's not going to be out there catching passes, but he caught a few at OSU. He ran 6 routes per game at OSU. Like they didn't want to use him that way. I don't know why you'd expect that role to change, go into the pros. Like sometimes it can for sure at necessity, but they have a pass catcher they trust there in Jerome Ford. Dylan Sampson could maybe project more as a pass catcher, even though I don't think he's going to be ready year one. Just like, assuming things like that is always a little bit of a fool's errand. Sampson's up to 178 here. Jesus Christ. I'm going to go Alec Pierce here. He's sort of my big receiver swing at this point. Jack Besh, frankly, a player I liked a decent amount analytically coming out of TCU. Just don't think the role is going to be there for him in year one with him playing slot forward and Jacoby Myers being locked in the slot so far in this new Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll offense. So I'm going to go Alec Pierce for my kind of big swing here at wide receiver 6. And it's going to come back. Frankly, living in this area too much for the back of my receiver rooms. If I'm going to have any flaw in my draft process here, I'd say that's it. Is that like I'm getting my 6th, Fifth receiver sometimes in this range. It's probably not the move. Sixth, seventh, you can live with, and you kind of have to build that way, I think, this year. But Alec Pierce has been that guy a lot for me. Let's see what these guys do. Really nothing exciting to click on the board at this point. I mean, Gino's still available. If we want to just prop up a projection here. You know what? Fuck it. If they're not going to take Gino, I'm going to take Gino. Pierce all got shot in the shoulder, for the record. And again, it's not about... he wasn't a targeter at Florida either. Like, you are who you are. I like, that's really the biggest thing I would say that most people need to learn about football in general is, like, guys don't usually become drastically different players between college to the pros to their second year to third year. Like, they'll improve. You'll become the best version of yourself and hit your ceiling in terms of production and what you can do. But, like, you're not going to change who you are. Like, slot guys always end up being back to being slot guys. Like, you see every year, it's like, oh, Ladd McConkey's going to play out wide. JSN's going to play out wide. Like, all these guys are going to play out wide. You know what happens? They all go back to their slot role because they were really good in the slot, and that's why they got drafted in college, because they were good in the slot. Expected guys to do different things in the pros, whether it's Pearsall, whether it's Judkins being a pass catcher when he wasn't a pass catcher in college. He caught a few, which is not the same thing as being a pass catcher. These are things that really will help you, I think, make better player take choices as you go. And really also to filter out people that don't know what they're talking about a little bit. That's my take. But again, getting shot, whether it's the chest or the shoulder, which it really was getting lightly grazed in the shoulder. I think Brian Robinson got more shot if we're going to compare who got shot out of the guys coming into the league lately. It's not going to affect him earning targets. I strongly believe that. Best ball and bong grip season continues. Glad to hear the guys out there. I got a lot of work to do. I actually got to start planning some NFL season stuff too. Some meetings about that coming up. So lots coming up here on the Splash Play channel, but show some love if you can. If you're watching this video, whether you agree, disagree, all that, please do subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. All goes a long way for me here. Just one dude showing you my gambling on stream as best I can right now during best ball season, soon to be in DFS season, all the showdown slates, all the weekly slates, of course, hitting those again and keeping up on best ball along the way. And join the channel too. If you want to go chat, be in the Discord, $5 to join. You guys know the deal. Just join the channel. You'll be added automatically if you click the link in the description. Dante, so this is what I was planning. I took Geno Smith uncorrelated, so I can take Dante Thornton here. Not crazy about Thornton or anything, but I think we could put together a little Vegas stack at the end of the build. So that's what we're going to try to do right now. This guy tackles, I feel like, just been taking players all over the place. He took Tajay at 106, which I don't disagree as a price point, but he's been reaching the entire draft, which not usually what we want to do. But I hope it works out for him. I don't really, but, whatever. I'll say that. What about for wide receivers becoming tight ends? Oh, that's true. And don't forget running backs getting, there's actually I think a Jahmyr Gibbs quote that came out where he's like, I'm playing more receiver than I ever have in my career. It's like, you're going to get the same fucking, 6 targets a game you got last year, maybe a little bit more. I didn't even get 6. He got 3.7 targets a game. Maybe he gets to 5. In a really good outcome, but like Tony Pollard is at one point playing on the slot allegedly for Dallas. It never fucking happens. Darius Slayton came all the way back, which I think works. Could also do the third tight end. To Theo Johnson would be logical. We got ourselves a little late game stack here. Vegas Giants. I'm cool with that. 3-5-8-2 build is the final. We got Brock Purdy, Matthew Stafford, Geno Smith, all the QBs with one stack partner at least, and also a bring back. Omarion Hampton, Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard, Ramondre Stevenson, Roshan Johnson. Could have added one more RB on at this point, though. Like Brashard Smith doesn't excite me very much. Mostert might have made sense, actually. So that's one I could have considered, perhaps over Slayton or Dante Thornton. But we did what we did at RB. Wide receiver, Puka Nacua, Drake London, Juwan Jennings, Darnell Mooney, Rashid Shaheed, Alec Pierce, Dante Thornton, and Darius Slayton. I think one of these picks being an RB would have made sense, but I opted for the third game stack instead. And a tight end, Trey McBride, Colston Loveland. The team is okay. Like, I think it could have been a little bit better. I think not getting Penix when I did kind of threw off the feng shui of the team a little bit because it is more of an Atlanta stack than it is a Rams one, but I think that's okay. That's our stage of the try draftalon here in Underdog. Next up, DraftKings, guys. I'm going to enter the room here live on stream so you can play along with me. Let's go here. Best Ball Millionaire. Draft team. All right, entering the room now. Also, how did Neil Orfield get a DraftKings partnership, huh? As somebody that has that, my DraftKings partnership is through Stochastic. I don't know. Neil got one. Like, shout out to Neil. I love Neil. Neil, great guy. Definitely one of the people I like more than not in the space. Which, you know, if you guys know me, that's always going to be hit and miss. But in general, I was shocked to see Neil getting that level of sponsorship. I'm happy for him. But also, where's my money, DraftKings? Look, I'm an Influencer 101. Please give me more of that. Our draft stalker cannot help himself being on the site. It's really, I can't imagine watching content so you could be on a stream with somebody who you know actively dislikes you. But you know, that's what do I know? You know, what do I know? I also, I don't know if you guys are Chrome users. I assume most of you are. I'm on Chrome, and on this computer, at least the PC version, they got rid of like a couple apps that I use a lot. uBlock they got rid of, and I can't like turn it back on. It won't let me use the uBlock app, which like blocks ads basically. And parts of the site too. Like there are some things I do on sites to make them look a little more presentable on stream to like, you know, kind of rearrange them basically. I'd have to redo all of that on stream. But I also got rid of the Great Suspender, which is a thing that keeps your tabs open. I don't know why Chrome does that shit, but it's really fucking annoying. Like, I just don't change my shit, man. I'm in that boomer stage of tech where I've been using shit a certain way for like 10 years. But if you are in Chrome, watch out for uBlock being fucking taken off your thing. If you get ads all of a sudden, that's why. Stupid. Josie Wales here getting high watching Spags masterclasses on drafting. Thank you. I hope they're masterclasses. For me at this point, it's just, hey, draft some RBs, draft some wide receivers. Try not to do really stupid things. Try to avoid the massive mistakes that 9 out of 12 people in your draft room are making, and you're okay. But in the 101 here, we will take Jamar Chase, so that's how that goes. Nick, I got no fucking clue, man. And again, DraftKings does not pay me, so so I can be real about it. I don't fucking know. I talked to somebody at DraftKings. Somebody in the chat might know. I don't follow the promo stuff that closely. Oh, the one promo that I do know is one I mentioned before on DraftKings that's going on right now. If you put in 2 drafts, you get $10 back, and you can do that 3 times. So if you put in 6 drafts, you end up getting $30 back in DK cash. So that's the only promo I know. King of the Desert shit. No clue. Don't care. No disrespect. I just don't know and don't care. Maybe I should. Maybe I should know. Maybe I should care. And let's see. Andrew here in the 10 hole. We'll see what the old Drewster does. Not even an avatar, huh, Andrew? Fair enough. No. I don't really track. I really don't track promo stuff that closely. Never been a focus point of mine. I try to make sure to get mission credits when they're there, but other stuff like that, not a clue. I'll also be drafting DraftKings today at 3 p.m. today on Stochastic, so stay tuned for that. For anybody out there, you know, obviously no MLB going on this week, really. You know, you have your home run derby, you have your all-star game. If you want to do some gambling, that's it. Oh, it's a tourney? Yeah, definitely don't do the King of the Desert now. Isn't that just a qualifier? Oh, you know, now you got me curious. I'll look up the fucking thing. But I have no clue what you're talking about overall. I don't see it on the homepage. The King of the Desert's a qualifier. So basically, you're entering a qualifier to advance. Is it a qualifier for a qualifier? Because I thought King of the Desert was one of their big tournaments. Fucking Nick, man. People make me end up like, you break my own brain, and as I end up talking about shit that nobody cares about besides the person who asked. Not trying to be rude to Nick. I just like, but I get curious and I'm like, what is this thing that I don't know? That's not it. Did I max it or no? I don't have. That was the line of EV versus time spent was not it. If you missed it, the Dalmatian tournament Underdog put out. They put out the big Dalmatian, which is 3 entries for $101, but it's like 20K to first or 30K. I'm not doing that. For the smaller Dalmatian, it was 101 entries for $1, with 20K to first, which I'm not going to do 100 slow drafts for a tournament that's got that low of a prize. I'd rather put in like 10 puppies at a clip is what I've been doing for slow drafts. But I've still got like 50 slow drafts going right now, so I'm not really dying to add more into the fire for a tournament. But more power to you guys. King of the Desert's the live final. So basically you advance in the best ball tournament to get into the live final. The timing doesn't make sense on that because the live final is like week 16 or week 17, right? I don't get it. I don't know. mean, that's confusing to me too, Nick. I guess I get what you're asking then. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. Somebody may know. Honestly, the qualifier thing is one thing that's always been outside of my brain space. I know it's a thing too, where guys, especially started like before me in DFS, like all the guys who were like farming easy money in the mid 2010s, where like the guys who like got big off of roto grinders or like DraftKings, like really low frills. If you use projections, you'll win money content like that. Al Zeidenfeld kind of, yeah, again, respectfully, like he used to make that kind of stuff back in the day. People just didn't know that shit. Like back in the day, you'd make a mint off of like qualifiers just by you because nobody would fill them basically. Now, for the most part, you'll find some that don't fill. It was never a focal point of mine. Like that and cash games are the two where I know how to play cash. Never really found it fun, even when I was winning okay at it. Just feel like DFS and much like anything in sports betting, you have to play the stuff you find fun. You draft street. There you go. That's a callback. What was the other one where like they had I guess FanDuel does it now. There's one site, Fantasy Draft, where they had like the full slate and their prices were basically just like a 1.1x of DraftKings. They would just rip off the pricing fully and just tack on like a slight modifier to the salaries so they didn't have to do their own. DFS used to be a real lazy business that people did fucking nothing for. McBride went, Marvin Harrison hanging around. Let's just go whole hog for Cincinnati because I really don't like Josh Jacobs. Don't love Tyreek Hill. Love Cincinnati conceptually. So we'll go full Cincinnati. Chase Brown, Chase Higgins, or T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. So double chases there. For me right now, Cincinnati, I get Cincinnati an okay amount. Whenever I'm in the 101, I'm getting Jamar Chase. Whenever I can scoop T. Higgins on DraftKings, feel like he goes at like 30 ADPs pretty often. I scoop him a decent amount there. I'm not taking a lot of the full Cincinnati stack. So, of course, that means I'm going to have to make a real tough choice potentially about going Joe Burrow here at 48, 49 because he makes a ton of sense for the team and getting sniped on him would not be great. I mean, frankly, this room, I don't know a lot of these guys. I don't know if they're sharp. I don't know if they're dumb, but they might just scoop up Joe Burrow. So we're going to have to make a tough choice in this next pick if we do take Joe Burrow or not. When you're in the one hole, always go all Bengals. And look, I don't think it's the best move necessarily to tie up 3 of your first round picks into one team. But certainly all these guys last year, I think, showed impressive things of varying degrees. Chase and Higgins, even though people don't love to hear this fact, they were targeted pretty similarly. Jamar Chase. Oh, there's too many chases. I still have Chase Edmonds on my sheet. Shout out to him for hanging on. Jamar Chase, 0.34 EPA per target, 25.1% target per out run. Not as high as many superstars are, but did get 2.1 red zone opportunities a game. That's where red zone opportunities help you decide. This guy doesn't maybe look super impressive in some other stats, but he does, get targeted well in the red zone. He's obviously very efficient, breaks long plays and all of that. And Jamar Chase still gets 10 targets a game, so we're not really critiquing it that much. But it's just the fact he's running so many routes is probably the bigger issue for him. But Jamar Chase, 25% target per out run, 0.34 EPA. So keep those numbers in mind. For Higgins, 0.44 EPA per target, 25.4% target per out run, and also 2 red zone targets a game. So even though Jamar Chase got a lot better results, he's a more explosive player for sure. He can catch and run a lot better than T. Higgins can. They still got functionally the exact same usage. Like, in Higgins, the injury stuff, you want to keep holding that against him, you can. I would guess that a lot of the Higgins injury stuff will go away more so now that he's got his big contract, which sounds kind of counterintuitive, but I think he was playing a conservative injury-wise for a while because of the fact that contract was hanging over him. Now it's not, and he could be full go. And frankly, you could argue that he missed like a month last year, so I don't know. I probably wouldn't argue he was really going full go last year. The guys got both really got good usage is the main thing to me. And then Chase Brown still had, I think, he had over 5? No, he had 3.7 combined red zone opportunities a game. I think it was over 5 when Zach Moss went out. So the entire year was still over 3. But with Moss out, we'll say over 5, at least over 4. Chase Brown had a great role too. So you're talking about 2 guys with similar high volume roles in an offense where I think the offense benefited quite a bit from the fact the defense is dog shit. That defense has done nothing to improve. And in fact, they're alienating one of their star players with Hendrickson. Their rookie is not showing up. They lost some guys as well. I think the defense is going to be better. So if you're going to talk me to one team to sum it up that you take the whole stack for and feel okay about in the first 3 rounds, Cincinnati's probably it. Really finding it hard to think I can sneak Burrow by these guys. I would love to be able to get Burrow at pick 72 here, but I don't think it's possible on DraftKings. The ADP is too high. At least on Underdog, he's got like a 60 ADP, so you could try to sneak it by. I think here I'm gonna get him snipe before I pick, knowing how these rooms go. But I think we're gonna have to take Burrow at one of pick 48 or 49. Yeah, I know. I'm sure in some rooms you can get it. I am sure it's always the case in best ball. In some rooms you can get it. Even on DraftKings. But I don't think this is gonna be the room. To see how the draft goes. All right, so let's just get Burrow out of the way. Joey Jojo, come on down. DK Metcalf here, a little bit of a faller. I'm cool scooping these Pittsburgh guys. Again, I'm not like excited about Pittsburgh's offense. We saw with Arthur Smith last year. I thought he was fairly, and I hate shitty offensive coordinators. If you guys watch this show for years, you will probably hear me talk more about who's a good offensive coordinator, who's a bad offensive coordinator more than anybody I think that does this kind of content. I'm not a big Arthur Smith believer in terms of like what he does as a play caller. That said, I felt like what he did with Justin Fields last year, and also, frankly, what he did with Russell Wilson, he got the most out of those guys in a way I wouldn't have expected Arthur Smith to do, where Justin Fields was league average accuracy. That's always been a struggle point. That was what he got when he started. Certainly didn't take as many shots, but played it close to the vest. For Russell Wilson, it was more of a game that relied on deep shots because apparently it's come out after he left the team. Russell Wilson didn't want to attack the middle of the field, didn't feel comfortable trying to thread those needles, so they just kind of made it more of a vertical offense, which is why Russell Wilson took as many deep shots as he did, if you guys remember how it went in season last year. So like for this year, you got Aaron Rodgers, the guy who's going to, number one, take some checkdowns. Number two, going to take some deep shots. He's now got pretty good weapons to do that. When you have your Calvin Austin types, you have your Jonnu Smith type there now who can get a catch and run thing going off of no ADOT. You have Pat Freiermuth there as a big-bodied red zone kind of target if you want to go a different way at tight end. And you have DK Metcalf being your downfield vessel who probably absorbs, I would say, 99% of the deep shots that go on there. Robin Wilson probably some other amount on top of that. But like Metcalf is not a bad click. Is really the main thing. He's number one. He's a wide receiver one. And at this range, it's Cortland Sutton and him, or that are your only wide receiver ones you're getting. Zay Flowers would be another here. But, you know, there's a lot of wide receiver twos going with Pickens, with Waddle. Evans, you would say is a wide receiver one, but, you know, JMO, Worthy. Point being, there's a lot in this range. Take Metcalf. Like, just take Metcalf and hope that he can get there when he's getting paid big money by a team that's going to build the entire offense out of him because they are paying him an insane amount of money. So I don't know. I think Metcalf, to me, a player that, again, people wouldn't be excited, and I also generally have shit on Arthur Smith as much as anybody, but I think he showed enough last year being able to adapt, and I think in particular maybe getting that head coaching role off the plate for him, he made him a little bit smarter about how to run things and how to get more creative, and yeah, we'll see. The Aaron Rodgers part of it, I still think is kind of a dumpster fire potentially waiting to happen. If it becomes kind of a political pissing match between Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers, that's where things can go askew. That's where DK Metcalf got to get absorbed in the wake of that sort of. But as it is right now, I think viewing it optimistically, I think Metcalf at pick 50 is a pretty good one. Bengals prices are too expensive. Why? They had a very clearly defined role in an offense that passed an incredible amount and a defense that encouraged them to do it, and their defense got worse. So and if anything, you expect them to be more successful this year in offense. Like, sure, maybe injury can happen again. These guys got paid guaranteed money. They could certainly phone in if they wanted to, but I really find it hard to believe that the Bengals they may not win everything for you because of how the nature of pod luck works and how the spike week stuff works. But, you know, like appealing week 17 matchup, appealing overall game situation, team situation. And again, a team that I just think is not going to be good enough to run away with games. That's sort of a perfect storm for fantasy production. So I think I appreciate having a different take. I don't think it's a good take though. And yeah, forced it to the Burrow. I mean, you're not ever forced into it. I suppose you could make the case like you've gotten all the production here, so let somebody else take Joe Burrow and like they can try to do it. But in reality here, if Chase spikes even by himself, you're going to want Burrow most likely. If Higgins spikes by himself, Burrow probably got close to a usable game. If Chase and Higgins spike, it's almost definite that Burrow had an outlier game. You don't want to leave those free points on the table. So you pretty much, when you're making this big of a bet on the team, you want the QB with it. So I bit the bullet here. Don't call me a hero, even though certainly you can. Last leg of our Try Drafthlon coming up after this one, guys. We got Drafters coming up. Make sure to go deposit on there. Promo code SPLASH at drafters.com or on the Drafters Daily Fantasy app. Go download it right now. Go get in there. Go check it out. Again, I've had some of my biggest wins on Drafters in the last few years because it's just an easier site to play on. Without the pod luck, your kind of true football knowledge shines through a little bit more. And sure, you still have to get the biggest, most successful players of the year to have a shot at big money in the largest tournaments, but you can still finish well, even if you don't get like that Saquon Barkley guy, right? You know, whatever the equivalent is this year, whether it's Saquon himself or somebody else, you can still win money on draft. And that's sort of the main thing I would say would be the case for many of you guys out there. All right, Swift goes. I really wanted to get Swift back because I think he is a tier break at receiver or at RB for me. Now we have a bunch of receivers on the board. Ugh. Well, I need to get an RB here. Aaron Jones is the RB that's on the screen. I feel okay about him. I just think he's a little bit cheaper on Underdog, and I guess I get why. Romo Dunze here could be the fourth receiver for me. Caleb Johnson, I could take the shot at here. I'm not crazy about Caleb Johnson, but we have a Pittsburgh bet. Frankly, we still might get Jaylen Warren back. I'll absorb the value again. Romo Dunze here, wide receiver 4. I really don't think that Caleb Johnson should be priced this far ahead of Jaylen Warren is really my main thing. I think Caleb Johnson has potential to be a Najee Bull kind of back. I'm in that offense, but Jaylen Warren, I think, reliable pass protector, reliable guy to break explosive plays. Still has a good avoided tackle rate, so there's the stuff that we're looking for, the underlying stats. I'm happy to try to get Jaylen Warren at 96, 97. Might not, but I'm not crazy about Caleb Johnson at his price. Let's see. Yes, please smash a like button, or are you a commie? I mean, look, I think we should start. Communism, I think, is growing on us all. Terry saying he's frustrated with the contract situation. He's on the, what the fuck's that guy who I follow on Twitter? He's on one of the Washington beat reporters shows today. I forget the guy's name because he puts his face out there all the time, and I always forget these beat reporter guys that really want to be famous real bad. But the guy who's got McLaurin on his show today is one of the better beat reporters for the Commanders. But yeah, he said that before through his agent. I'm not surprised by it, especially when you see Garrett Wilson getting the big money. Obviously, Garrett Wilson is getting paid really early. I think his deal, he's like the second receiver after year 3 to get paid $30 million or more, I believe. So like, he's in pretty hollowed ground. But if you're Terry McLaurin and you had the year you had where basically you put that entire receiving core on your back, and obviously I think anybody would have had a similar run out with Jayden Daniels. I made that case last year pretty aggressively. But he still is the one that did it. He has to get paid more as well. So it's a tough scene, I think, right now where I get McLaurin being bummed about it, but also McLaurin is like, that's his best year he's going to have. I think there's no way I'd be shocked if McLaurin has a better year this year. Like I'd be really just how that offense went, having watched every game last year for the Commanders because of how deep I was for that team every single week in best ball and DFS. McLaurin left a few 50-yard bombs on the table, but like he also got a lot of touchdowns. So they're going to be easy Debo touchdowns this year. Could be Jaden running touchdowns instead. There's a lot of shit that went his way last year that's just not going to naturally flow his way this year. But again, I would still take McLaurin. He'll figure it out. Like they're not going to not reach a deal. Guys are still going to get their vesting year no matter what. Might as well start the queue on drafters. I'll wait a little bit longer. I usually look on, I'm trying to look on drafters now around round 15 to see how many spots are left. But yes, we'll be hitting the drafters room in a little bit. So stay tuned here. I'll tell you guys when I answer the room so you can draft with me on drafters because the lack of pods on there really doesn't matter for competition quite as much. Our guy Hugo here trying to ease his way back into DFS. No better time, I suppose. Though best ball, obviously doing best ball all year here on Splash Play. And the NFL season, what is it? Days until, what are we at, like 52 days left? 51 days to NFL season. It's NFL kickoff. So you are in the home stretch now. Sometimes these DK drafts feel like a drag of 20 rounds. I agree, especially around like round 12 to 15 or so. Things start to get a little bit hairy. Of course, couldn't be the guy in the 5 hole making a bad choice. Reaching for the QB. Oh, God, just the same shit. Make the same mistakes every year and don't learn anything, but keep entering the same rooms. Jaylen Warren, going to be the pick here. Talked about him already. We have a Pittsburgh bet. I think he does round out the RB room a little bit better. We have a 1-3-4-0. Evan Ingram here, not correlated to anything. Really nothing at receiver to grab. This spot at receiver is pretty brutal. Buka, I guess I could take. I don't take a lot of him. I mean, this room where he'd be my wide receiver 5, I guess would be the kind of room to do it in. I'm actually going to go Mason here. I think this way we're covering the moon with Minnesota a little bit. If I had to guess, Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones are going to score their touchdowns in pretty different ways. Jordan Mason, I think, is going to absorb a lot of that red zone work. Aaron Jones being the guy who could be flexible on pass downs, on run plays, between the 20s. I think he'll get most of the work there. I'm sure Aaron Jones still gets some amount of red zone work, but I think there's going to be games where, like, you see Jordan Mason get 2 touchdowns, and that maybe doesn't preclude Aaron Jones from getting 80 yards and, I don't know, 5 catches kind of things that are still like a usable fantasy day on DraftKings. So I'll make the bet here on both Minnesota backs. The team so far, we got Joe Burrow very early on, so we have not taken another QB, but it's a 1-4-4-0. Burrow, Chase Brown, Aaron Jones, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Romo Dunze, who's a nice value. Jalen Warren, Jordan Mason here, part of our cornering the market of Minnesota. So we've really stacked up Cincinnati, got both Minnesota RBs. I'd be curious to see how the team does throughout the year. I wish you could label these things on DraftKings a little more easily so I could follow this as like a overly correlated team, perhaps. But, I can live with the decisions we made here. And frankly, I'm cool taking Mason and Warren over Judkins. Judkins, to me, I think at this point, for me to pick him, I think I would want him to be behind Tyjae. Or just like to have Tyjae gone. If it's Judkins versus Najee and Javonte, I think that's a pretty close bet. If it's Judkins versus Scattaboo, that does feel fair as well. Yeah, I think we're in that range. 110 to me or so would be Judkins. Price that I would click it at. It's hard for me because I really was not crazy about Judkins, but again, getting a guy now at pick 100 that was going late 60s, early 70s the entire time this tournament's been open, it's a tough thing to reconcile. But I really feel like, to me, and I'm a guy who I've scooped up a lot of Jonnu Smith out there because he's like way too low now for the situation that he's in, given the fact they're paying him over 10 mil and like he's coming in for a reason. I scoop him up all the time. For Judkins, I don't think I feel that way, which doesn't surprise me, but kind of surprises me. How do I feel about Omarion? I talked about this in the beginning of the video. Think Omarion's a player I want to get more of. Didn't like the price tag before because Najee does enough similar things on a decent enough level that I think he would have been harmful to Omarion Hampton's development early on. But the fact that Najee might miss most of training camp and he's just going to be ready for the season, at least that's what the agent's saying, the way that I'm interpreting it based on how everybody else is interpreting it. I think you have a shot now that Omarion Hampton actually wins the job early on and keeps him at bay, even though Najee's probably still going to be, a threat to come in and take 10 touches a game, maybe a little bit less than that. But I think the outcome where Najee wins the job and keeps Omarion Hampton at bay is much less likely, would be my guess. So I'm cool with it now. But the ADP is pretty pricey. Like, I think in a perfect world, Omarion Hampton going after James Cook would be ideal, which he did do here. Hampton behind James Cook, but ahead of Kamara. I could live with that. Yeah, that's how I feel about Hampton. One of my favorite rookie prospects coming in. He and really, I know this is not like a brave take in hindsight knowing where the draft capital was, but he and Genty, I've said on stream since January, they were the only guys I thought were actually special running backs. As the entire industry is like, oh, there's a million running backs. So it's like, there were a million running backs. There were a million running backs who could get drafted and can maybe play in the way a lot of players can fight their way up a depth chart. But there were only a couple like guaranteed, quote unquote, like star players coming in. I think they're going to be more clearly defined now to be Genty and Hampton. We're going to see it pretty early on. We've got 4 receivers, 1 QB. Our QB options have gotten taken away a little bit here. Keon Coleman falling in this room a little bit. I can live with it, I guess. Yeah, wide receiver 5, Keon Coleman doesn't feel awful. We've got this Pittsburgh bet developing and frankly might be live to be an Aaron Rodgers team. So David Njoku here, another 9-pick ADP discount. We need a tight end. I'll go Njoku as well. So Joe Burrow, Chase Brown are part of our big Bengals stack. Aaron Jones, our second RB off the board. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, nice value on him. And Njoku, decent value on him. Odunze, decent value on him. Jalen Warren and Mason basically at ADP. Keon Coleman was a nice value. So we're doing a team that I built. We're doing a team that's, I think, got internal logic, has some game stacking to it, hopefully. We don't have any Arizona bringbacks yet, so that's maybe one weak spot of our game stacking. But soak it up value along the way. I think this team works pretty well for me. Nice chat from Mr. Hoovy Butthole here. If you want to make money on DFS here, listen to Spags Single Game Showdown content, especially the 3 rules segment. I appreciate that. We'll definitely be bringing that back this year. Hopefully with a sponsor, but we'll see what we can turn up. Nothing else. The horror in the old stochastic. And guys, if you do want to support the show, there's a couple of really key ways to do that. Number one, join the Discord. $5 to join the channel here. And then really, it's not a lot of money I make from it, but I really want to get guys here who want to be a part of a community and also want to, just get in the mix, talk with guys like us, the guys you see in chat. They're all in the Discord. So please join here, join the channel, support the show. The more the merrier there, especially if you want to come in and learn football as best you can and get my takes on all the news items as they come along. Also join on course on Drafters. We'll be doing the tournament on Drafters next. The deal on there is that you get a 20-round draft, full point PPR, but no playoff pots. The luck component goes out the window a little bit. Join drafters.com. Use the promo code SPLASH on there to show them that we are gambling together. And of course, I'll be hitting those drafts every time I do a try draft-a-thon here on stream. Maybe more coming up as well. And Stochastic too. The deal's still going on, 15% off. So there's no great DFS stuff going on this week, but if I don't know, WNBA, I don't know even if they have that, to be honest. But NASCAR, MMA, that stuff, if there's tournaments for that. Of course, MLB coming back next week as well. At Stochastic, all 15% off, the promo code SPLASH on there, or the old link in the description. Check it out. There we go. Now we've plugged. Woo. QB panic, kick it in here. You always see in DraftKings, these rooms getting real red in this range. Rachaad White up to 135. I think it's correct. And you would not have found a bigger Rachaad White fudder than me last year, given how high I was on Bucky and how low I was on Rachaad White at ADP. I really only had one share of him throughout, I think, 200 plus drafts last year on Underdog. Rachaad White this year, you know what the role is going to be. It's mostly contingent value, but it's still a guy who I expect to be in there a lot on third downs, maybe even power run situations enough as well, if he proves he's less dog shit than he was last year. So for me, I think with Rachaad White, he's now priced appropriately for what the situation is for him, which is that he's not the star. Bucky Irving's the star, but I don't think Bucky Irving necessarily gets like unlimited run like he got down the home stretch last year where they were playing for a playoff spot. You're not in that same situation. Well, presume you're not going to be in the same situation from week 1 this year. All right, Ray Davis here, Garendo here. Trey Benson gives us some oppo correlation for Cincinnati. Let's go Benson for 1 click. QB2, do I want to just rely on Rodgers later on? I'm also going to try to punt Jonnu here, even though Jonnu makes a lot of sense for this team here, to be honest. Let's just do Jonnu. He might come all the way back to 160, whatever I'm picking at, to 168. There's no guarantee on it. And at this point, we have a pretty decent Pittsburgh bet. I want to get that stack. So I'm going to take Jonnu Smith here. Could have maybe taken another QB, try to set up a backdoor stack, but we'll go that way. So the team so far, I'm also fucking sweating in this room. It's so hot in the summer here. It's only like 84. I mean, it's 84 out. Pretty humid 84. It's like the studio just gets incredibly hot and kills me every fucking time. I've got Joe Burrow, Chase Brown, Aaron Jones. I'm suffering for my art. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, my gambling-based art. David Njoku here. Got him in as decent value is the only reason I would do it with the Pittsburgh correlation we have. Romo Dunze, Jalen Warren, Jordan Mason, Keon Coleman, Trey Benson, Jonnu Smith. So again, another balanced team here. Really trying to be mindful. The big observation I had last year for my teams, I felt like I overloaded receiver a little bit too early on. I think I could still get the best players that I like at receiver at that point, but still try to get more balance at RB. That's been a big focus for me this year. I see a lot of teams this year, honestly, where I don't think people are building the way you should be building in 2025. Not saying you have to build exactly like I do, but these builds for me feel pretty natural, and I think are the way that Look, I'm hoping I can combo my advance rate with getting that better with my tournament kind of building mindset. And that's the goal for me this year. The goal is to rob the bank in best ball this year, to get all the money out of it and then never stream again. Actually, if I won too much money, I would have to stream, unfortunately. The middle ground of winning like an okay amount of money is where I'd probably be like, fuck this. Who needs it? Bretton Strange going. Things are getting strange in this pick. Love Bretton Strange. Really, the hardest part this year of tight end is that there's so many pockets of tight end that feel pretty good. Even when I've taken the 4 tight ends late in an 18-round draft, let alone a 20-round draft, it still feels decent enough. I think there's enough starting tight ends you can get at decent price tags. Running the theory that Charbonnet and Spears will be viable by week 8 and 14, which is Kyron and CMC bye weeks. I mean, they're going to be viable from week 1, most likely. They have partial roles. You don't need the RB that's ahead of them to go down for those guys to be productive. Yeah, our guy Rob Griff III really loves 4 tight end builds. I think I mentioned him in Discord. I do think he's got more of a 3 tight end build and is just making it 4 as a luxury. But at 4 out of desperation, like, I think you can cobble together 10-point weeks at tight end with 4 tight ends late in a room. Like if you get just in this room in particular, you get Likely, Pitts, Ertz. I think that's probably good enough as a 3 tight end. But you tack on a Jatavian Sanders, that also works. All right. Daniel Jones going to the 160s here. Gee whiz. For a 4 tight end, I think like Gesicki maybe. Ertz would be good too, but I don't think Ertz to me would probably end up as a 3 tight end. It's tough. I really don't know what the line between 3 and 4 tight ends is. Like, what is art? Art is whatever you could say is art. You'll know it when you see it, kind of thing. That's sort of how I feel about 4 tight end builds. People love Daniel Jones. People don't grasp the reality that AR can very easily start part of this year. 2 easy clicks, I think, for me here. Aaron Rodgers, obviously for our Pittsburgh stack. Mike Gesicki, part of our Cincinnati stack here. We're going with the mega Cincinnati stuff. Still only 5 receivers, but I can live with that. I think we could skim some guys later on here on DraftKings. The team so far is a 2-5-5-3. We've got Joe Burrow, Chase Brown, Aaron Jones as our start here with the 2 RBs. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, David Njoku, part of our Pittsburgh-Cleveland Week 17 stack, which is not a fun one to me, but I think if the parts that we have here would be some of the better parts. Remo Dunze, Jalen Warren, Jordan Mason, Keon Coleman, Trey Benson, Jonnu Smith, a little bit after ADP, but not as much as he will go in some rooms. Aaron Rodgers, Mike Gesicki. Yeah, we got both players, both QBs, game stacked for Week 17. Definitely have starved wide receiver a little bit more than I would like to, but we made picks that we kind of had to make for Week 17 correlation, for actual correlation with Jonnu Smith and Gesicki. So I made my bed. I can sleep in it. All right, last stage of the journey coming up after this draft, guys. Going to Drafters next. Of course, sign up, drafters.com. Use that promo code SPLASH, and I'll be entering the room. Let me see how many spaces are available. There's 1 out of 12 spots in a fast draft, so I'm just going to go in now. So you literally play with me on Drafters right now. You can see I'm entering here. We got 10 spots available on Drafters. So that's the next stage of our journey here. That should fill while we do this draft, because I don't want to sit around waiting for that to fill. So go join me on Drafters next. Again, total points format, full point PPR. So very similar to DraftKings, but I do think your money goes a little bit further on Drafters. Pretend I didn't say that when I do my stochastic DraftKings draft later on today. But yeah, Drafters, money spent just as good. People don't put enough entries in. It's really the main thing. Yes, would your pride be higher winning on underdogs? You could go and tell all your friends on Twitter, hey, I'm one of you guys who won. And then they'll all go, whoa, how many RBs did you draft? They'll go, not as many as you guys. And they'll go like, no, you loser. But you know what? If you win a tournament on Drafters, if you finish top 100 on Drafters, picking up 5K is a pretty nice deal as well. So that would be my recommendation for you guys out there. Even though we all want the clout, play on Drafters. Play on DraftKings too, frankly. People are so Underdog brand loyal, and it's like you should probably put some entries in on DraftKings. I was blind to it last year too. The part of that was just bankroll budget from having a startup that I was hemorrhaging money on every month. But balancing yourself a little bit better, I think is always the move. Jerome Ford goes, unfortunately. Thought I could kick him back to 192 here. Would have liked to have gotten Jerome Ford, but that's okay. Should have got Kendrick, Spags the GOAT. I'd like to believe so. One day we'll have to show it with an actual win, but that day is not today. Michael Wilson, Arizona here. A little more correlation there. That's fine. Do we take the Keenan Allen bailout or the Marshawn Lloyd bailout? I think the Keenan Allen bailout. Justice Hill, Marshawn Lloyd, 2 clicks I have no issue with at this point of a draft, but I feel like I starved receiver too much. I think getting Keenan Allen for free in these rooms is still a thing you should do every time you can in round 17, 18, 19. When you need a 6th receiver, a 7th receiver. Still think Keenan Allen has the biggest upside. If he retires, I'll be totally fucked. But I'm okay to make that bet because I don't think he's going to retire. I think he'll still end up in an advantageous situation when things finally get to him signing somewhere. The biggest part, the part that I worry about with Keenan Allen is like he's going to sign in like week 6. It'll take like, I don't know, CeeDee Lamb gets hurt in week 6. And then you're like, oh, fuck, we need a slot guy now. And they bring in Keenan Allen then. That'd be a possibility. So that would still be super valuable. But Keenan Allen, I think really the main thing you're looking for here is like you compare him around to guys around this range. Slayton, obviously DeAndre Hopkins at this stage of the game. Pat Bryant, maybe there's some world where projection-wise he can get to like 15 or something if like this season were the best possible outcome for him, though I really think he would need like Courtland Sutton to not be on the team or something for that to happen. There's not a lot of guys that would have like a 15-point projection in week 17 at this range, and Keenan Allen's one of them. I think maybe some world where Dontavian Wicks could have that, but that Packers back receiver core, I'm not sure that's going to happen. So that's really the big thing for me with Keenan Allen is like he just represents something you can't get in this range really, barring a totally batshit outcome that nobody's seeing coming. Whereas Keenan Allen has been a projectable player like at a certain level for years and years and years. So if he ends up being a 0, I think it's a 0. It's worth taking. I feel like I'm reliving the Will Fuller thing people had from a few years ago for sure. But like Will Fuller was like kind of on the way out of the league. Keenan Allen is old enough where he could feasibly retire if he wanted to. I assume he's made enough money. But he was still good. I don't know. Guys who are still good usually don't retire. People can make their jokes, but he still outperformed DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, who were 2 very slap favorites last year. First Bucks Titan stack. I had a lot of those early on. I feel like I've not gotten as much of Calvin Ridley and Cam Ward lately. Not by choice. They just haven't aligned for me ADP wise. Maybe I need to reach for him earlier if I want to get him. Cam Ward is still one of my highest exposed guys everywhere. But it's weird because like he's still in my highest exposed guys, and I feel like I haven't taken him like a month. Not by choice though. Our guy Tyler joining here. Appreciate all the long-standing members in tow, as always, for these try draft along streams. And of course, come along on Drafters. Still 6 spots available for the next Drafters draft coming up. Again, these rooms take a little bit to fill, so if you do want to get on stream here, it's a much better way to do it instead of the weirdos in the 5-hole. But you guys know that. All right, picks coming up here. 3 more picks to go. 2-5-7-3 build. I think at this point, Mostert's not a bad click. Again, a player that does seem like he'll be in the mix for opportunity, whether you want him to be or not. So we'll go Mostert for that one. Does this feel like a 4 tight end build? And Njoku, Jonnu, Gesicki. I think it could be 4 tight ends. I feel like the receiver room kind of got bled more than expected early on. I'm going to go Dontavian Wicks here. Just feel like there aren't a lot of viable clicks on the screen at this point. There are guys like I don't mind. Noah Gray, Higbee, Jatavian Sanders. If you need a tight end, those are all fine clicks. Coker, I'm not crazy about. Just think that he's blocked by a bunch of guys who have a lot more draft capital / standing for Adam Thielen's case. Tyler Higbee here, again, another tight end. Naylor, not really for me. Devin Neal, I think, is getting squeezed by Cam Akers. Tutu Atwell is pretty free on DraftKings. He's a guy I probably should click more late in a draft. Isaac Tesla late in a draft, maybe. This 20th round on DraftKings, though, or like 19th to 20th round, even worse than the last time I drafted on Thursday. I did not do any DraftKings drafts over the weekend. Like that spot, ADPs are tightening up a little bit already there. We got to wait all the way for the last pick. Jesus Christ. Still 3 spots left on drafters, guys, getting there. Jordan James, the pick I've not seen. People take him. People think that he's going to somehow squeeze the RB room. It's part of why Garendo is so cheap, is that people think Jordan James might matter. He was like a worse version of Bucky at Oregon last year. I don't really think he's a guy, but yeah. For last year, we did see the third RB hit for the Niners. When Mason went down, obviously McCaffrey went down first, Mason went down. We did get to the Garendo tier. So if the same thing happens again, I guess maybe there's a chance you get Jordan James, but that was real. I say the expression a lot, but it is absolutely an old reference at this point. The Simpsons softball game is basically what you had like for that room last year, where it takes a series of like catastrophes to occur to get there. Like Jordan James, I think needs a series of catastrophes to get there. He's not better than Garendo. Like Garendo's a freak athlete. That's enough to get him on the field. Garendo's an undervalued pick, though. People have like a lot of questions about Garendo, and they shouldn't. He flashed. He was good enough last year. Still think he should have a lot more juice for a guy who's an elite athlete. Like he doesn't actually miss tackles. But who cares? Like he still produced fantasy points. I want my perfect prospects are always the guys that miss tackles, that are efficient, have high EPA metrics and all that, get a ton of touches when they're on the field. But sometimes guys don't get that. So then you have to evaluate them for what they do have. And Garendo spiked 20-point days, when that room was pretty depleted last year. So I think he's going to be hard for Jordan James to overcome. But, it's a 20-round draft, whatever. All right, so one more pick coming up here. Drafters room still has 1 spot left for you guys who want to get in there for the fast draft on drafters coming up next. It's not an actual fast draft, but it is technically a fast draft. All right. 2683. Nothing a QB to take. All the shitty Pittsburgh players got taken. All the shitty Bengals players got taken. And I'm just kind of scrolling, but fortunately, this is how I think. So I apologize if I'm giving any of you vertigo while I try to think about my last pick in a 20-round draft. I think Higbee would help out this room a little bit. I could take a shot at Monangai here because I really don't ever do it. And I do think in a spot where I didn't get any Chicago access for RBs, rather. It's really hard for me to click Monangai. I don't know how he overcomes Swift and Roshan. So I'll go the 4th tight end. I'll go Higbee. Still like Higbee. Think he is really the last clickable guy here. I hate this pick in the last spot of a draft. Like Mechie's probably not even going to be on the team. I don't even know how he's still on the roster. Tesla has a shot, I guess, but I don't know. Monangai, I just don't think it's talented enough to overcome the guys in front of him. But he was picked by this new regime. Everybody else here is just like a dead pick. So, woof. That was tough. That was a tough end of draft. All right, drafters draft starting now on here. So last leg of our try draft-a-thon. Hopefully getting clean here in nice 2 hours and change. I am ready. Let's draft. Let's go. Even though this is not going to work. Shout out to the guys in the room. We got our guy Braden in here, Mr. Poopy Butthole in here. I am the KY, of course, in here with a new version. The Splashplay avatars that look less and less like a Splashplay avatar every time that he creates one. I think Bitcoin is in the room in our chat. The other guys, I don't know. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. We'll find out here. Hopefully they draft in a way that allows me to build another sick team here on drafters. Let me move myself down here as well so you guys can see the board a little bit better. Ooh. The lack of breathability in this hat, I really feel during the summer months. Bijan Robinson here, to me, a much more preferred click to CeeDee Lamb. I do think Saquon Barkley, as I've mentioned enough times, he should be your 102 in my opinion. He's not, though. And I've got enough Saquon already on drafters and really everywhere. I want to make sure I'm getting even amounts of Bijan. So Bijan Robinson, my pick here. My 26 drafters draft. I actually think I had a free draft here, but it didn't put in the ticket, so that's my bad. But on drafters, you do get free drafts when you put in 10 drafts, 25, like 50 after that. Might be like a 25 draft clip, where you get a free entry. But basically, if you end up maxing out on drafters, you get a ton of bonus cash back overall as well. Basically, end up being a rake-free tournament. So play on drafters if you can. Again, they are presenting sponsor of the show. Even though I very much owe the CEO there, or the founder, my guy Zach, a call back, because I just haven't been able to connect with him in the last few weeks. So hopefully we're still sponsored by him. But check them out here. They have been a great partner for me for years. Drafters.com, promo code SPLASH, $100 deposit match on there. And go check it out for yourself. Oh, man. Your training camp, guys, officially going to start seeing some news items come through. Actually wonder if there's anything going on right now in terms of Twitter highlights and stuff. I think rookies have reported for 3 or 4 teams today already. Let's see. Let's just go to Roto World. What's new on Roto World? Terry McLaurin disappointed on his extension talks. Nothing surprising there. Well, there's Pat Doherty. Splash Play alum Pat Doherty, back when Pete used to book the guests. We got Remo Dunze could take off in 2025. I agree. It's not really newsworthy. I did not see this one. So remember, we were talking about how bad that Bengals D is going to be. Shamar Stewart believes he can return to college football. That's very funny. That's not good. Najee Harris is expected to be back in the field sooner than later. That would affect Hampton a little bit for sure. Again, don't go reach up like crazy for Hampton, but any delay to Najee being out there is a good thing for Hampton. Garrett Wilson's contract. Yeah, nothing fun from any training camp stuff yet. Next to the draft board. I was hoping maybe there'd be something, but we got nothing new. It is funny, though, that, like, maybe not funny is the right word, but Trey Harris being the first holdout, and like a lot of the headlines are like, Trey Harris, the first to hold out, as all the second-round running back or second-round picks plan to fight for guaranteed money. It's like Trey Harris is like the headline for him and all. And it's like, this is another year where this is a guy that I was like the guy like the most pre-draft. I think he's a special player. I think he's going to whatever. I didn't take him like crazy because like I learned from my Troy Franklin lesson last year that I felt like there were potential red flags and athleticism and stuff like that. I would kind of dial the guy back a little bit and just see the situation isn't always going to be perfect. Kind of, Trey Harris got a good run out, but I think still has to overcome Quentin Johnston. And now it's like, if he holds out and he's like the Kurt Flood of second round picks trying to get guaranteed money, I don't think it's going to be good for his ADP. I don't think it's going to be good for how he performs this year. Even though I do believe he really, in terms of what he did at Ole Miss, it was in some ways as special as what Malik Neighbors did at LSU. People will take that, hear me say that and go like, oh, but he was fucking incredibly efficient and really good and earned a ton of targets in a way where he was like a lot, 90% of that Ole Miss offense for the pass game, at least. Trey Harris is good, but sucks he's holding out because it just makes it harder to get on the field. Garrett Wilson's ADP has come up a lot on drafters. Pick 22 here for old Garrett Wilson. I do like Garrett Wilson. I do like Bucky Irving more when I get this. I can't not do the Bucky Bijan start. If it's in front of me, I'm just going to do it. So that's that. One of you guys can have Garrett Wilson. Hope you guys have fun with him. Treat him well. But a Bucky Bijan start here. The start that wins me all the money this year with 2 backs that I feel pretty comfortable with. And also 2 guys with different buys as opposed to Saquon and Bucky that both have week 9 buys, unfortunately. But I didn't think Bucky was coming back here. Thought maybe there'd be some sticker shock on Garrett Wilson that could make him come back. Is Garrett Wilson going to come all the way back to where he was last year ADP-wise? Is he going to go back to the 1-2 turn? Is sort of the question I would have at this point. Because like I like Garrett Wilson. I've been taking him a ton around pick 30 when he's there. If he's going to start going higher at ADP everywhere, it's going to be a little bit of a tougher click, even though he and Rashee Rice, I think, to me, pretty much 1-to-1. But we got Higgins coming back, Trey McBride if you want to do elite tight end. I'll go Higgins here. I think looking at Higgins' numbers again from last year and how close they were to Jamar Chase kind of reinvigorated me wanting to take T. Higgins. So T. Higgins, first receiver off the board here. Bucky Bijan start. My cozy little RB piggy start. I'll play the GIF. I don't care. I'm a running back piggy this year. If you give me Bucky and Bijan in the first 2 rounds, I'm going to do it because I think those are 2 of your best running back clicks to make, in addition to being guys that have separate bye weeks. So that works out pretty well as well. There we go. Oink, oink, baby. Oink, oink. Channeling my inner Uncle Jesse from Full House, where he was like, they used to always joke like, oh, you're a misogynist, Uncle Jesse. And he's like, oink, oink, baby. That's, I don't know, another boomer reference here. Kill me. Chargers yearly contract holdout. That is an annual tradition that they love to keep near and dear. Now they get out on the fireworks explosion one. They've taken out the mantle from Jason Pierre-Paul. Now we have to worry about Najee Harris being a pirate. I don't think he is. He doesn't want to be a pirate like Jerry Seinfeld. He really did do a lot of oink oink babies. He really did. Could have been one of Weird Al's parodies of Ice Ice Baby. Could have been him being Uncle Jesse doing oink oink. God, really, everything coming out of my mouth makes me feel like I'm 70 years old. Remember the Smothers Brothers? Remember the which actually I did have a Smothers Brothers video when I was a little kid because they were like really good at yo-yo tricks. And that was what you had to do when you were a kid back in the day. Is like you had to get like a tape or a book to how to learn how to do something. And now it's like I wish Luka had any interest at all. He's still only 3 and change. But I want him to have an interest in like learning how to dribble and stuff. It's like there's fucking a million videos where you can be like a really good dribbler by just watching some other kid who knows how to dribble and has a YouTube channel. But I had to learn how to do yo-yo by watching the Smothers Brothers tape, and I don't think I learned very well. Spags, cut the crap and tell us the best ED pill to take. It's one I don't have a lot of experience with. The ED pill that I take is thinking of other. I can't say it. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of great suppliers out there. Hims, they do a good job, right? I see them advertised all the time. I don't have a promo code. Promo code Splash at Hims. Actually, be a very appropriate promo code. We got Xavier Worthy here, DK Metcalf here, JMO here. This is a tough one. I don't know who I like the most out of these 3. I mean, Metcalf falls the most. JMO, I feel like, I don't know. I think I like JMO the most. I do. Jameson Williams, come on down. Duncan Guy? I don't know who that is. Am I a Duncan Guy? It's him, Duncan Guy. Duncan Guy, the author? I don't know who Duncan Guy is. Latest BBM, I went Bucky, A-Chan at the 11th spot. Thoughts, wouldn't do it. Wouldn't go up and grab Bucky at that point. You don't know what's going to happen over the next 2 months. There's still... Oh, Duncan Yo-Yos. Yeah, I think I did because that was like the yo-yo company, but I certainly don't remember my yo-yo thing. I do remember getting the yo-yo ball though, which had like pretty dope commercials, like the you could blah 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 blah. It's a yo-yo ball. I don't know. that was like a cool thing though, where it's like a yo-yo that would automatically come back. So if you were like a little idiot kid and you couldn't make your yo-yo snap, it would do it naturally. We could find a yo-yo commercial, I think. Yo-yo ball. We got DK Metcalf here, Devontae Smith here, George Pickens here. None of these guys really screaming to me. I think Metcalf again, PPR, half PPR. I'd probably still go Pickens. So probably still go Metcalf over Pickens over Devontae, I think. Again, Metcalf is just like a wide receiver 1. That's it to me. Like you want to hate Pittsburgh. I want to hate Pittsburgh. I get it. The price tag is not correct for a wide receiver 1 at pick 51 here. Even though Zay Flowers is a wide receiver 1 at pick 52, but like Metcalf has real touchdown equity. Zay Flowers, the big critique of him is that he hasn't had it. So that's that. All right, we're gonna look at a yo-yo ball commercial. We got a ton of picks. Commercial. I'm gonna get fucking DMCA'd for the yo-yo ball. All right, here we go.
Yo, ball. It's so much fun and easy to do. Cause wherever it goes, it comes back to you.
Whoa.
And you never have to find it. You can do
Check out my
it
dope
all.
yo-yo tricks.
Hey man, it's a yo-yo ball. Play it like a pro. Be real cool. Cause wherever it goes,
It comes back to you.
Got
That's
you
what I
going and
remember.
blowing, living off the wall. Hey man,
Me being
it's a
6
yo-yo
years
ball.
old.
Yo-yo ball from Marshawn. You can do great tricks with it. Hey man, it's a yo-yo
I
ball.
wonder what Marshawn's doing these days. Probably not a lot. Probably as much as Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Toy Company. Now we're just doing things to fill the time here. On this Raptors draft. All right, so Marshawn. Oh, they apparently created other kinds of yo-yos. This ribbon spinning yo-yo. Also a Marshawn one. There you go. You're doing this solely for the millennials. The few Gen Z among us will be like, oh, fucking classic millennials, just harping over old fucking ads, which is weird. Like, I don't know if you guys ever watch YouTube. So you're watching this video on YouTube, but you like if you're on YouTube and it's like, oh, here's this classic collection of old ads, and it's like now our content is old advertisements. And there's something profoundly pathetic about that. That said, it's sometimes hard not to click. But I honestly I follow like the millennial subreddit and the nostalgia subreddit, and a lot of times it's just like, oh my god, am I like I don't want to be one of those people that like is just always living in the past where they're like, I can't believe they got rid of the old Pizza Hut design. And like, there's a thread on these Reddits every fucking week about it. Or it's like the McDonald's place. Like, why don't they have that anymore? It's because McDonald's wants to have the real estate able to sell without the building looking like a fucking monstrosity. It's like, it's all logical things, but millennials are like, oh, my childhood's gone. And like, they can't live with it. It's like, I don't know. Well, this is reality, guys. This is what happens. Anyway, that's my rant. Chris Godwin's the pick here. I love nostalgia too, but people like bathe in nostalgia, and it's like we're just as bad as the boomers are with their fucking weird boomer hentai stuff, like the old like pornographic kind of comics about like my wife won't fuck me, and the guy's got like big balls or something. Like millennials being weird about Pizza Hut's the same fucking thing. Demolition Man, where the top, that's a good point with the top radio stations all jingles. Great movie, really actually very prescient movie in hindsight. But yes, Demolition Man, great. Of course, the 3 shells. How do you wipe your ass with 3 seashells? We may never know. We got a Bijan Bucky start here, of course, in between me just filling the time. Talk about fucking Jordan Fields or Justin Fields 74. I can't even say the name right. It's so baffled I am. But I'm actually thinking about my next click, which I think is going to be Jordan Addison. We've got Detroit, Minnesota. I would have wanted to take Laporta. Thought he was going to come back to me, but this guy's going wild here. Addison will fall for the suspension, though. So maybe to scoop up the Myers value. Let's go Myers. Let's go Myers. I don't need a week 17 correlate here on drafters. My brain is still broken in terms of that always. But I do like Addison more generally as a pick over Jacoby Myers. So that's my problem there. Justin Fields at pick 74. What is his ADP right now? I think this guy just went completely off reservation with it. He's got an 85 ADP now on drafters, which is, you know, drafters is weird ADP wise. Like, I know we've talked before on stream during a drafters draft about Pat Bryant and how he was going real early on drafters. That kind of leveled out a little bit, but not a lot. Fields is probably going here if he's going pick 85. Like, I think he should be, in my opinion, he should be with the Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray range. Mahomes is still a little bit high here on drafters. I mean, Fields, there was an Adam Levitan tweet the other day where he's been a top 5 QB as a fantasy QB every time he started for like basically the entire career. Now he's going to a team that's building the entire offense around him. And one thing too, which I did mention earlier in the video, which I meant to say, you know, sometimes teams do a Garrett Wilson contract like they gave him right now, where it feels like a pretty big contract. Do that ahead of the year because they know he's going to have like an absolute beast of a year, because he might put up like 2,000 receiving yards, which, you know, probably not actually 2,000, but like maybe he'll be in the hunt for that. You don't know, because if there's no fucking weapons on the team, they're probably building the entire offense around Justin Fields run, Breece Hall / Braylon Allen / Isaiah Davis short play, Garrett Wilson target. Like, that's the entire offense that you're going to get here. But you're going to get it schemed as best as possible because you're getting guys coming from Detroit over running the entire offense and creating it around these guys. I think Fields is undervalued. It's jarring to see him go at 74 because, like, people think that he might get benched for the backup there for Taylor. Tyrod Taylor, I think, is still the backup. I don't think that, but like, I do think that for Fields, it'd be real sticker shocky to see him go to like the 70s, but I think logically, probably a proper price tag. I was saying in the Discord, like, to me, this year, and again, it's not one-to-one because it's not the same situation. Like, Justin Fields is my Jayden Daniels this year, where I thought Jayden Daniels, the price tag was wrong. No matter what rookie, whatever offensive concerns people had, I didn't have the same ones, obviously. But I do love in general, last year getting Jayden Daniels at that price tag. Fields, though, I think at like 90 to 100 feels that same kind of click to me, where it's just a not correct price tag. You should almost take it every single time. I do think in, you know, your pod formats, if you don't have Garrett Wilson, you're gonna get fucked with that. But like, yeah, I mean, well, like Melissa in the chat is apparently the one that did it, so we could talk about it in a second. Mahomes here, Kelsey here. I unfortunately did not take Worthy before. We're going to throw off the calculus here a little bit. I'll go Kelsey, and let's see if the Burrow guy who has Xavier Worthy, we'll see if he takes Patrick Mahomes. If he doesn't take Mahomes, I'm open for Mahomes business. If not, well, then we'll see. And Melissa's saying, calm down, Spags. That was me. Okay, so there you go. Stacking with Wilson and Hall, he would have gone before I went up again. I didn't realize that his ADP had come up that high, but it's still jarring to me. Wherever he took him, that's fine. 85 ADP, though, is like a real market-based stand on drafters. Take him at 74 is also real fucking aggressive. Whether you want to say you took him because he wasn't coming back or not, I get it. But there was still enough time where Fields was going cheaper on drafters, and he's still been going cheaper on other sites. So if you're going to look at drafters as sort of the canary in the coal mine, Fields' price tag might come up a lot throughout the summer, would be the main thing I would say right now. If Melissa in the chat is going to grab Fields at 74, if Fields' ADP on drafters is going to be up to 85, guys like Levitan are going to tweet about how he's only finished top 5 every time he started. Fields is like this easy click to make, might become a harder click because the price tag can come up a lot. So that's my in summary. If you fucking time out on Mahomes, okay, thank God. We got Mahomes back here. Whoop-de-doo. Big 20-pick discount on Mahomes, though. So Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, the quintessential stack that if you got that last year at pick 99, you'd probably been so stoked. This year, it feels like a mercy killing to take these guys. But again, Mahomes here, Bucky, Bijan, the start at RB. So we're going to leave that position for right now. Probably go back to it soon, though. T. Higgins, Jamison Williams, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, Jacoby Myers, our 5 receivers up top. Loaded room, I think, relatively, even though we didn't get one of the top super elite first-round receivers. Then tight end Travis Kelce. So like another team developed. I think especially, too, like I would not have reached for Fields if I took Garrett Wilson. So I think that would have maybe thrown the team off more. So I think this worked out okay for me. It's Quinch on the next Ray Rice, so I'm hoping that ADP. I don't know that he's the next Ray Rice, but like literally, if they have photos of the woman's face, like you could think back to the Chris Brown, Rihanna stuff back in the day. If there's photos of it, because apparently he did punch her in the face based on the reports, or she got hit in the face, whether he did it or not, blah, blah, blah. Men deserve rights trial. But like, it seems like he punched her in the face. If photos come out of that, he's fucked. Like he's absolutely, if there's video, he's fucked. That'll make the commissioner's exempt list an impossibility to not overcome. But last year there was I forget who it was. I think there was an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman who got suspended for 5 games for misconduct. And it wasn't a thing where it went to trial. It was just that there was domestic violence, police report over it. So I would think that's what you're getting. But again, they can't suspend him until he comes to terms with the Browns on his contract. And if he's holding out for guaranteed money, they're not going to give him guaranteed money until this legal situation sees itself through. So I think for Judkins, there's like a lot of risk for that. I know we're doing like jokes kind of in chat, but like the Judkins thing is like a risky click right now, I think. Spags is up, dude. Back after a week with the boys. Feel free to donate some of that 4.5 million at the end. Yes, I'm sure I'll have a lot of money to donate here when I win all the best ball tournaments. Then I can evaluate appropriately how to tax harvest all my things. All right, we got a click coming up here. Mahomes and Kelsey going to play like it's 1999. I hope so. The Mahomes not as old as he makes himself seem, with his being completely out of shape and such. All right, we got Tyrone Tracy here. I think feels like a nice little semi-ADP value. Scadaboo, I still like as a prospect. I'm happy to take whichever one is available if I need an RB. But Tyrone Tracy will be the click here. Frankly, I think you could take Tracy and Scadaboo. I don't think either becomes like a true bell cow this year. I think they're both going to offer different looks, even though they're not different backs, really. Like Tracy was a former wide receiver. Scadaboo, certainly a good between the tackles runner, but is still a guy that's going to catch passes and all that. If he's going to hit his true upside. But I think it's possible they end up just splitting the role. Can Judkins go back to college? Again, when you punch a woman, it's like, if you really take one lesson away from this video, it's like you punch a woman, that's like the most fucked up thing you do for your entire life. You're going to ruin one, no matter what you're doing. Construction worker, football player. We got Mahomes here as our QB. I think we need a second QB. I'm going to go Jamison Williams as preferred QB, Jared Goff. So Jared Goff here, Patrick Mahomes, 2 statuesque QBs. Could honestly tack on a third potentially here because of that. But, you know, we didn't get Baker. We didn't get, we obviously didn't get Burrow. Aaron Rodgers, though, maybe later on. Geno later on. certainly options. The team so far, 2 QBs, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff. Huge discount on Mahomes. If you get Mahomes to pick 100, I think you should do that. The fact I was able to get him with Kelsey makes me feel better about it. But Jared Goff as well, reasonable ADP here at pick 123. At RB, Bijan and Bucky, a very concrete start for me in terms of how I view this year. 2 of my favorite running backs overall. Obviously, nothing too crazy I'm saying with that, as I burp through my mouth really disgustingly. Tyrone Tracy, our third RB. T. Higgins, Jameson Williams, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, Jacoby Myers, Travis Kelce, the tight end, stacked up with Mahomes. Kelce still feels like a 3 tight end build guy for me, especially the 20-round draft. So we'll get there. Do I think the Terry stuff is reaching a concerning point? No, I do not. Think him, Jennings, it's going to make ADPs move, which is always the shitty part. And like, that's honestly to me, that's my least favorite part of best ball is like the ADPs will move and they really don't have to, like, because we know that he's going to come to terms and like the team's most likely not going to trade him somewhere that's awful. But because there's like a 1 to 5% chance that could happen in these situations, same thing for Keenan Allen retiring. It's like the price tag becomes so off kilter for what it should be. That's what I think is most likely to happen. But I don't know, like McLaurin here in this room, ready to go. He went pick 40 here, so he actually did fall appreciably. I don't know. He really shouldn't fall that much. But people just read headlines and then do a draft, and that's what they go off of. They're not accounting for nuance at all. The nuance is that this happens every fucking year. You know what happens every year is the player eventually comes because they're not going to lose their vested year. So whatever the case may be, he'll be out there at some point. But it is shitty to do. When they're rebuilding that team, and like he's been a great community guy as well. I'd be on his side for picking sides, but I don't think it should affect his ADP. Where should Dylan Sampson go? Not as high as he'll go. I would say the 150s feels like where the ceiling is, if I had to guess where it would be. But if Jerome Ford's going to be in the 170s to 190s, I would take Jerome Ford. It's really hard to go from, I've said this before, I'll say it again, said it last year with Jalen Wright. Very hard to go from a Tennessee offense, which is not really football in the way that you're going to play in the pros. They spread guys out too far. There's a ton of motion. It's like the RBs get really easy runs that aren't available as a pro. Not be an easy run out for him to get on the field in year one for Dylan Sampson. He's a good athlete, but so is Jalen Wright, and that did nothing for him. We got Bashal Tootin here, Trey Benson here. I am going to go Trey Benson. Not for any week 17 correlation reasons. I just think out of this pocket, Benson's a guy where they've talked pretty aggressively about giving him a timeshare with James Conner. Even if it's not 50-50 because they love James Conner, I think him getting 40% is valuable enough. And Benson is a guy that I think flashed pretty well in terms of avoided tackle rate, efficiency stuff, earning targets. Like I think he's got potential. So Trey Benson, to me, an undervalued click here in the 140 range. But yeah, I'm just not crazy about Sampson is the big thing to me. Like I think he's fine. And if I were to look at his numbers, let me see, because it's so hard to even see my fucking sheets now because this fucking Chrome extension thing broke everything. RB college data. Here it is. Dylan Sampson, again, a freak athlete, 22.5% avoided tackle rate. That's okay. 0.1 EPA per rush. That's okay. 6 routes a game. So not really a pass catcher. Wasn't used that way. But he did get targeted when he did run a route. So that's good for him. I just don't think he's anything special. I think this is how I feel about it. And I think the Tennessee thing is a much bigger barrier than people realize. But we'll certainly find out now that Judkins is going to make that a possibility. Bashal Tootin still here. Just don't like him enough to make the click. Oh, shit. All right. I missed that entirely. Well, Trevor Lawrence is our pick here. Was going to go for somebody else, but I won't say who it is now. So we're going to have to backdoor Trevor Lawrence now, which I can live with. But I was going to take Austin Eckler, so that's my bad. Talking too much. There's usually a slight delay on drafters if you guys are just really want to know my logic here. So I thought I could kind of make the point and make the click, but I just kind of got stuck. So that'll happen. Afraid to talk here has got an ED pill ad. I mean, have you been also searching for it? Because I don't know it's necessarily me saying it in real time. I don't think the ads work like that. But I would say if you are searching for it, it is going to give you back your retargeting. So that could be it. But it would be weird if it's just like you did a chat and then it gave you an ED pill ad. But hey, more power to the ED pills. I would happily take an ED pill sponsor for what it's worth. One company actually, so I was going through the Splash Play email today because I don't check it as often as I should. And, just want to make sure I didn't miss any DK emails about sponsorship since they're sponsoring so many streams in the space now. And I saw that I got actually one of those headphone companies that's on like every YouTube channel had reached out at some point. It's like, I don't really want to do a review of Raycon headphones or whatever. But I was like, oh, all right, well, at least that's nice. Somebody wants to advertise. Him just showed me a video. All right, well, there you go. I guess they think this channel is now, frankly, it might be good for the channel. Maybe we'll get more monetization going because like there's enough guys paying for dick pills out there. Happy to do that. I also cannot get StreamYard to be the right size today. Like the windows are all fucked up for some reason now. I have no clue why. StreamYard's been changing, which if you're not familiar, StreamYard's a streaming software like pretty much every streamer on earth uses at this point. They keep changing shit and like trying to make it better. It's somehow breaking things. And I don't know what the deal is here, but they've broken the screen right now where I can't get it to be a good size. Like, so the chats are not the right size. The viewing window is not the right size. What a mess. You pay me money to do an ED pill pitch. Boy, you think I wouldn't take that money, my friend. You'd be sadly mistaken. Bretton Strange here, stacking him up with Trevor Lawrence after we auto-clicked him at pick 147. Seemingly, people didn't want Trevor Lawrence because of the Q tag, I guess. Again, Q tags in July matter very little. In August, they matter slightly more, but even then don't really matter that much. So absorb guys with Q tags on them would be the general strategy I would give. So we got a stack here for Jacksonville. Underdog's official has been doing lots of Hims promos. Oh, good, good. I mean, Hims has the, the terzepatides and semaglutides as well. I know that. Oh yeah, Chunk. I'm far from a subscriber to ED. Sure, Chunk. I get it. You can be a young guy and still have problems getting your dick up. we don't have to be tough guys about it. We got 4 RBs, 5 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. Need more at receiver, I think. RB, though, is getting pretty ugly, but we've got enough at RB. Diami Brown, is he going to come all the way back? Probably not. Pop Douglas, I like a decent amount here, but Diami Brown is Jacksonville correlated, so let's go get him. Diami Brown is it. So team so far, 3 QBs, 4 RBs, 6 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. It's Mahomes, Goff, Trevor Lawrence. At RB, Bijan, Robinson, and Bucky. Again, if I can get that start in a draft, I'm just going to take it. I won't do it all the time. Like I'm not going to take it out of the spot, but when I'm in a room where it lines up, I'm just going to do it. Tyrone Tracy's my 3rd RB. Trey Benson's my 4th. I'll probably add in a 5th, maybe even a 6th, but I don't even know. They would add a ton of value. T. Higgins, Jamison Williams, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, Jacoby Myers, Diami Brown here, part of the Jacksonville stack that I got forced into. And Travis Kelce, Bretton Strange. Seems okay. The Bijan Bucky part's the main thing. I just usually pair it, I feel like, with more fun stuff around it. But I still like all the players I got, so I'm cool with this. Did Hims just lose the major legal battle? I don't know that. Is it from making compounded drugs? Because like that's all the online ones are doing that now. And I was reading up on that yesterday because like basically you're not supposed to make compounded drugs unless the initial drug is not readily available. But because these online companies are like moving targets to hit, they're all doing that. So, for fraud? No, that's not fun. Well, though, Hims is an official sponsor, so I don't know. If they're a sponsor, though, I presume the fraud was user error, would be what I would say. Seen a lot of 4 QB builds lately. Any idea where that's coming from? Probably people seeing that 3 QB builds sim out well with like the sidekick, and a lot of people have been talking about 3 QB builds, and then they think, well, what would be even better is a 4 QB build. And in reality, I think 3 QB is already pushing it unless you absolutely need to do it. 4 QB, I think you're doing absolutely insane shit unless the 4 QBs are like Geno, Cam Ward, Aaron Rodgers, Stafford kind of types. But, I think it's just probably people making a bad logical inference and influencing my guess. It could also be some creator that I'm not aware of doing it. I mean, it's always a possibility as well. People really do follow these trends because they think they're getting a panacea, a remedy for like their drafting or whatever. And they look for that. And I think, frankly, that's part of the issue I have as a streamer is like, there's really no direct remedy for drafting besides knowing how to draft, knowing ADPs as much as possible, and doing it for years so you understand how to balance capital appropriately. But it's possible that somebody's just like out there whoring for QB builds, and I don't know it. I haven't heard that, but it's possible that exists. I feel like we're getting a little bit tier breaky here at tight end. Keenan Allen, my little wide receiver bailout, also available here. And I again, just believe that's probably the best move overall, usually. I'm going to do Keenan Allen. If it clicks, there we go. Keenan Allen, wide receiver 7. Think that could make us pretty much done if we want to be. Get Keenan Allen, if you're out there somewhere, I know he's on the internet a lot. He's streaming a lot. Don't retire. Please go to a good team. Go to the Niners. Frankly, they could use you now. You got some leverage with Juwan Jennings holding out. But Keenan Allen, I'm not going to, if I need a receiver to flesh out a room, I think he should just be the click every time. Unfortunately for me, if he retires. Is Melissa in the 2-hole not going to do Mason Taylor? Really? All that time, you're just not going to take the tight end? I guess you got 2 elites. All right. There's a lot of draft capital at tight end. Fair enough. I'll go K. Dotton. Yeah, just adding some bodies at tight end at this point. How people treat QB is how I treat tight end, unfortunately. A lot of times, I think my edge this year will be having more tight ends in my room a lot. Not the full, who's the guy last year, that poker dude who like everybody's like, you got to draft 5 tight ends every time, 4 tight ends every time. I don't agree with that. But I think trying to get a better 3 projected tight end room or 3 tight end projected room, I think is one of the better strategies to have, cross drafters especially. But I think all the sites this year, if you can pull it off. So happy to get 3 tight ends here, 3 QBs, 3 tight ends, 4 RBs, 7 receivers. Him's having a hard go lately. Him's is standing tall. Him's the talk of the town, if nothing else. So they should sponsor here just to control the conversation, I think, more than anything. Let's give this team a read, though. We got Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence at QB. Lawrence, not an intentional click, but him at pick 147 because he's got a Q tag in July is kind of batshit to me. At RB, we've got Bijan Robinson, Bucky Irving, Tyrone Tracy, Trey Benson, wide receiver T. Higgins, Jamison Williams, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, Jacoby Myers, and then, of course, adding on Diami Brown, Keenan Allen late here when we got the Jacksonville stack going, and Keenan Allen, my little emergency button to hit when I don't have enough receivers I like. At tight end, Travis Kelce, Bretton Strange, Kate Otten. The team doesn't slap, but it's like, it's right. It's right. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I wouldn't call Hockenson and Laporta 2 elites. I think that might be a bit of a stretch. Elite is still top 5 rounds. We've got a little bit liberal with it. I do sometimes call Laporta an elite. I do think Hockenson, though, is a tier break for eliteness, I would say. If you take him at 95, that's not an elite tight end. I take Mason Taylor, though, whenever I get Justin Fields stacks, so I'm probably a little predisposed there. I don't even like Mason Taylor. I've said before in video, if you guys watch the rookie previews, really was not wowed by any numbers he put up in college. Like, he was a shitty target earner, had an okay athletic testing, so that's probably the biggest part. And he seems locked into the starting role. I think he'll be the wide receiver 2 out of just like inertia, because that Jets offense is going to be mostly focused, I think, on Garrett Wilson and the run game. But I feel like Mason Taylor, like, I will be probably, I would assume in BBM, I think I'm going to be one of the players that have the most Fields plus Garrett Wilson plus Mason Taylor. That's a combo that I've taken quite a bit. But we'll see. Relatively elite. That's fair. Relatively elite's a better way to put it. All right. 4 RBs here. I don't take Kareem Hunt very often. I don't think I want to today either. I'll take a shot on Keaton Mitchell. The Keaton Mitchell here does something different than all these guys at RB. Nothing special to me, but I think still a player that Makes sense when I'm looking for a fifth RB and there's guys like Blake Corum on the board. Mostert, probably a better projected play. Kareem Hunt, I never click. I think I clicked him. Actually, no, I was going to click him the other day, and I was like, I'm just going to go get Eli Mitchell. Eli Mitchell's a better player than Kareem Hunt at this stage of the game. Obviously, Kareem Hunt's earned trust in KC, and that could matter. But like, I don't think either's a good click as a result. And Kareem Hunt goes, I think on BBM, he's going like 180, 190. I don't like Kareem Hunt that much. Team Chig and Pitts, you need a third tight end with that. Fields will throw the Mason Taylor if he starts. I agree. Like, one of the things that Fields does well, like, and you guys might not remember the specific plays, but he does like a good amount of like bootlegs around in the goal line that leads to the tight end being wide open with nobody near him. I feel like Cole Kmet benefited from that a lot in Chicago. Mason Taylor can do that, I think. I don't know what else he's going to do, but he can do that. Kareem Hunt here, again, just doesn't excite me very much. I think Mostert rounds out the RB room well enough, so I'm going to do that here. Yeah, and then the last pick, one more receiver, maybe one more tight end, because I think we do that as a luxury, potentially. That's how it's going to go. So, team so far, again, 3 QBs with Mahomes, Goff, Trevor Lawrence. RBs, we added a few late picks on here just to try to flesh out the room, because I think we can do that. Bijan Robinson, Bucky Irving, who should be starting pretty much every week. Tyrone Tracy, Trey Benson, Keaton Mitchell, Raheem Mostert, hopefully competing for the flex / filling in if, God forbid, Bucky or Bijan go down for a period. Wide receiver, T. Higgins, Jamison Williams, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, Jacoby Myers, Diami Brown, Keenan Allen. Then a tight end, Travis Kelce, Brenton Strange, Kate Otten. I like this team. Yeah, it doesn't feel like anything terribly special to me. But I think the team works. Tyler Warren is the third, what? The third tight end? Oh, the third tight end with Chig and Pitts. Yeah, that makes sense. That would be a logical 3 tight end build. It's a little bit high draft capital for Tyler Warren, but the rookie obviously having a bit of a ramp up for projection. I think that would be a fair 3 tight end room to have Warren, Pitts, and Chig. Yeah, probably. I honestly, I've done 3 tight ends with an elite too. So like, I don't know. I'm willing to do 3 tight ends with a lot of different builds. I just feel like tight end every year is like a position that, and frankly, maybe 3 tight ends just kind of compounds that error. That's absolutely a possibility. But it ends up being a position a lot where like you end up with a lot more zeros than you want, or like 4-point games, 5-point games. And my feeling is that if I could turn those 5-point games into 10-point games more reliably, I think I can hit and advance a little bit higher. And I think have a shot too in the playoff pods to help that out a little bit more as well, where you end up with so many teams in the playoff pods, not on drafters, obviously, but on Underdog and DraftKings, you end up with like a lot of teams that have the exact same tight ends. So getting that a little bit different for me this year is also kind of the thought process. But I feel like, QB, everybody's like, I got to get more QBs in. And it's like, I think I'm picking QBs for the most part that are giving me 15 to hopefully more points, but at least 15. I don't think you need 4 QBs to get that 15 points. You need 3 good QBs who like make sense and are going to be viable fantasy assets. And that's what I tend to project the best is, QB. So I don't want to do 4 QB builds ever, to tie it back to the previous question. And I still think 2 QB builds are going to be undervalued this year because people aren't really game stacking 3 QBs enough. Like that's the reason you do 3 QBs is like game stacking it. I know people have pointed out in the Discord, like the sidekick sim apparently pushes you to 3 QBs a lot. I get why from a sim that would help. I think in actual reality, it's not going to look as good. And I don't think the data supports it quite as well, unless you have those week 17 game stacks with bringbacks and all that. But we'll see. This is going to be a weird year for best ball. Very curious to see how it goes. Cause I think I'm going to be a lot better in advance rate this year. I think there's going to be some other weird things that come up on other teams. One more player on top here. This is a guy I never take, but I'm going to take the shot today because we got this this Lawrence stack. I don't know how Parker Washington hits at this point, given what you're going to have with Hunter, with Brian Thomas, but neither guy's on this team, so we'll take a shot. Maybe Parker Washington kind of breaks through somehow that I can't foresee. The team here is a 3-6-8-3. We got Mahomes, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence. At RB, Bijan Robinson, Bucky Irving up top here. Again, that's really the main thing. Frankly, it could be like a 2 RB room, and that's it, because these guys are it. Like, if they hit, I'm good. If they don't hit, I'm fucked. Tyrone Tracy, Trey Benson, Keaton Mitchell, Raheem Mostert here. So, again, 6 RBs, all that I believe will have roles to some extent. Keaton Mitchell, probably the least role, would be my guess. Wide receiver, T. Higgins, Jamison Williams, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, Jacoby Myers, Diami Brown, Keenan Allen, and Parker Washington. The tight end, Travis Kelce, Brenton Strange, Kate Otten. One more tight end I think could have been okay here as well. But I took the shot here in a weirdo Jacksonville stack because everybody's going to likely have one of Hunter, one of Ryan Thomas in it. So we'll do it the backdoor way and hopefully get something unique. Let's see. 1% Arroyo. All right, well, there you go. Yeah, 1% Arroyo, more than enough Arroyo. That's our try draft along for today, guys. I will be back at 3 p.m. on Stochastic, so tune in there. You can draft along with me once again if you want. Again, DraftKings also has a deal going where you have the get 2 entries in, you're getting $10 back. And they don't promote the show, but they're not sponsoring the show. But still a good thing for you guys out there. It's really what I care about is you guys making the most you can off the best ball this year. So play on DraftKings if you are playing on there because you do get cash back directly for putting in 2 entries today. Make sure to go draft on Drafters, though. That's the big one. Drafters.com, promo code SPLASH at Drafters. Of course, a great site to play on here where some of my best finishes have occurred because, frankly, it's just a lot easier to do it. I've not maxed out any tournaments on Drafters, yet I've had top 100 finishes, top 10 finishes in playoff best ball that have won me a lot of money. So it's really worth it for you guys to play on Drafters. I know it's an ad here. You're listening to me, influencing you to play on Drafters. But really, I just want you guys to play on there because you'll have a better shot at winning money, frankly, than you will on Underdog and you will on DraftKings because just the way the luck component isn't there with the lack of pods. And frankly, too, you just compete against people that are sometimes not as sharp. Sometimes a lot of boomer drafters on Drafters as well. We've seen them yelling in the chat on stream. That's what's awaiting you on Drafters. Boy, what a sales pitch. But really, your best shot at winning money, I think, will be on Drafters once again this year. Join the Discord, too, if you want to talk more best ball this time of year. I'm in there all the time. A lot of guys in there talking around the clock as well about their teams. So come join the channel. $5 to join if you join my odd shop or sales package. Same thing on there as well, but join the Discord. It's frankly cheaper to do it this way. So join the channel, join the Discord. You guys know the deal. And gamble responsibly, guys. Even though it is always money time here. And also, subscribe. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all that stuff. Doing the try draft-a-thons Tuesdays and Fridays. Going to probably add a few more in when we get down the home stretch, but trying to keep myself even keeled right now. My news video is going to be coming out soon as well. Be hitting like little 10-minute live videos in the morning to try to give you guys all the news and takes up top. And then we'll do a draft separately from that later on in the days. But that's how things are shaping up here on the channel. And yeah, I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Here's Daffy Duck jerking off. And of course, good luck. Hopefully see you guys at 3 p.m. on Stochastic. But if not, enjoy your days. Bye-bye.